boop, 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 boop. Beep, beep, boop, boop. Beep, beep, boop. Boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. All right. All right, so yeah, if you want to stay inside of Twitch chat, that's fine. I would prefer people being inside of YouTube chat because it helps encourage the algorithm. But if you want to be in Twitch chat, I will not complain. All right, let's get started. I want to start with the shorter video.
If you have an issue with it, you can voice it. Go ahead.
Why are you coming in so hostile, man?
Well, no, hold on. To be clear, wait. Abba came to this call to argue. Really? Did he really just? Oh, he mad. Well, what's up? Sneako's
Sneako
Abba here.
Oh no, he's getting sturdy.
Actually, I'm over here instigating. That boy Sneako, he pissed right now. He's been mad all day.
Oh shit.
He's been mad. Look, he's
Somebody Abba's been riding too high on a lot of drama recently, okay? Between Ethan and Hassan and Sneako. I think somebody needs to knock Abba down a peg or two. His head's getting pretty big, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, y'all can feel free to start any second now. I'll say everything I said before. I'll say on stream. I'll say the motherfucker. I don't care. I'll keep the same energy. So y'all feel free to voice your discontent.
Yeah, talk your shit, Abba. Talk about it.
What do you guys want to talk about?
That's so awkward.
I'm just vibing.
My
This is
Discord
Gideon's stream. I don't know. What were you guys talking about before here? Factorio?
If people say, oh, okay, here's the Moot and Peach clip. Is this it? Is this it? I think this is fucking adorable.
Woo, very important. Feel it needed. Woo, woo. Oh, my account. Don't swear my native language. That is not yours to have.
Fuck you.
No, this isn't it. Oh, is
You're
it?
a white boy.
Oh,
You're
is
a
it?
fucking white boy. What are you gonna do, huh? Huh, whitey? Huh? Huh?
No, that wasn't the full clip. Wait, that wasn't the full clip. They like push each other.
I wanted to join and talk to Abba.
That was Gideon. That wasn't me.
Oh.
That was still wholesome though.
Well, Gideon, what do you want to say to Abba?
Gideon, what do you want to say to Abba?
Then we're gonna switch up.
Okay, wait, hold on, real quick, because wait, real quick. I just got home, so I haven't watched any videos yet. You guys aren't all like talking mad shit on Twitter and YouTube videos, and now that you guys are in the same room, nobody wants to say anything, right? That's not what's happening right now, is it?
Well, I mean, listen, I said what I said. So there's an issue with what I said. We can talk about it.
Abba's made several videos saying some tasteful things about me.
Okay, well, Abba, what do you want to, Sneako, do you want to take him to task? Do you want to fight on a particular topic or what? What do you
Well, no, it does well. It does well. Saying negative things about me is good content. So I understand.
Is he trying to pump the algo right now?
I mean,
What do you mean? You saw the video, so if you have an issue with it, you can voice it. Go ahead.
Dude, you know what's weird? Under normal circumstances, I would think like Abba should say something about this, but that's isn't like a normal circumstance. Like Abba was responding to Sneako's response to Abba not responding, and then Abba was just like, "Yeah, you're foolish. You got banned for an obvious reason. Like you were not walking right, and you got caught for it." End of story. Makes sense. I don't know what like Sneako wants out of that.
You're coming in so hostile, man. I understand why you're doing it. It's good content. Your viewers like to see it. They're like, yeah, Abba, you're the moral police. You stay consistent, Abba. You make me feel better.
Okay. All right. So let's get started. Speaking about me is so, it works, whatever, your passive aggressive voice. You realize the video that I did on you that has the highest amount of views is one in where I agree with you and I show you love?
No, the recent one, though, like the last 3 you did in the past week.
What about the last 3 I did? I just told you, you made the claim that negativity sells, so I understand why you did it, for the views or whatever. And I'm telling you that the highest viewed video that I have actually talking about you and what you were doing is a video where I show you love. So what is your reply?
What is the video where you show me love?
The video in which you were confronting some feminists on one of your 1-minute podcast interviews.
You were showing me love?
I was agreeing with you. I was literally going against the person that you were talking about and saying why you were making sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That just went against my narrative that I was drawing about you in my entire Matrix theory, but okay.
Okay, cool.
Right now, at this point, it's very profitable to say, like, well, I told you so, Sneako. You should have listened to me. I know better. And Fresh and Fit's bad.
Okay. Yes, I did tell you so, Sneako.
I mean, everyone, Gideon said that, Destiny said that, Andrew Tate said that, Bradley Martin said that. Everybody was aware that the way I'm talking is going to get me canceled, but you were incorrect about a lot of the information that you talked about. It wasn't that clip from me simulating or telling the feminist that she needs to get laid more. It was just an accumulation of a lot of misinformation and other
real quick on my opinion on that. The reason why I think it was that clip, and I understand that you might get banned for a particularly different thing, but when I'm trying to figure out why somebody got banned, I feel like the public makes the mistake in that they look at like, what did you violate in the TOS and what was the ban reason? But I think the most important thing is what catches people's attention, because once people have like your attention, like now you're gonna get banned for some shit. So like on Twitch, for instance, I probably got banned for some random transphobic thing or whatever, I guess. I don't know what they just said hate speech. But the reason I got banned was for fighting with Keffels. Because if I wouldn't have had that...
Whoa, you're giving her power, dude!
Fight with Keffels, I wouldn't have had all the people mass reporting me and their eyes on me, etc., etc.
But he's probably
because
right,
of that fight that I got banned. So like, I feel like when you made that video, you remember that one curly-haired kid that made the like, we need to ban Sneako for abusing women, blah, blah, blah. I think, just from what I've seen, I could be wrong, but that seemed like the thing that got a lot of people like super riled up on Twitter and YouTube and shit, trying to like call for people to ban you and shit. So I'm curious if that was like the thing that led everybody mass reporting and shit. But I could be wrong, but
I mean,
just to let the stream know, I am collaborating on a new channel ran by my editor. I'm frequently on there live streaming. He has me as a guest, so you can go find there. That's a way that I'm going to be able to stay on YouTube. Just collaborating as a guest on new platforms. That's where you can find me. There's a new channel that's doing pretty well right now, so go subscribe to there if you missed the old content.
What's the name of the new channel?
It's just called Sneako.
This man in his infinite wisdom decided to make another channel called Sneako to ban evade for his main channel called Sneako.
Okay.
Type Soldier of God, it pops up.
It does?
Yeah, I typed it in, it popped up.
Oh, okay.
But I guess it has to like register.
Yeah, it's pretty shadow banned right now. It's hard to find, but yeah, I bet you could do some research. Low Tier God is going to be a good recurring
you and
cast
Abba,
member.
you're here. This is it, the big showdown.
I don't know. Obviously, has a lot of 30-minute videos. I just was curious if he still had stuff to say while we're in the call.
No, I said everything I had to say. I mean, it's just a repetition of what I told you.
I didn't really watch the video. I saw the beginning of it. I'm like, okay, he's doing the thing that a lot of people are doing right now. I get it.
Cool. Well, if you didn't watch it, then we good.
My Discord.
We have nothing to talk about, I suppose.
Or maybe you could have told me instead of making another hit piece video, like, well, everyone's against me right now. While Big Tech's against me, all these soy boys, you could have sent a text or a call before making all these videos.
Hold up. So I texted you before I talked about the DJ academic stuff, and I texted you before. You remember I texted you, and I barely talked about you in that video. 1, 2. I didn't even make this video until you called me and you said, yo, how come you talk about this but not my deplatforming? I said, oh, well, if you want me to talk about the deplatforming, then I will. I already made the video before that. You told me to talk about it, and now that I've talked about it, you're like, well, why did you make a video about it?
I didn't tell you to talk about it. I said that on a commentary channel where you frequently talk about drama and that people you know in the community, that may be talking about how this is a problem that everybody can get wiped from all these platforms. And then also single out something that makes me look bad and makes it look like I'm committing essay on camera. That's really not the reason.
Well, didn't we see it in the preview?
Every single social media site. It has nothing to do with that. I think that's a bigger issue than trying to equate it to like I told you so or fresh and fit. That's too simple of a video. But I understand it does well for your audience.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I did it for the views. And anything else? There's nothing else to talk about. If you think I'm doing this because it's for views, then we have nothing to talk about. What can I offer in this conversation?
If it's not for views, why do you think you're doing it?
But you're already convinced of why I'm doing it. You're so sure that I'm doing it for the views. This is, again, what I spoke about the video. You are incapable of taking accountability. In your own final message, you're like,
why are you in a car?
Oh, KSI. KSI's hating. Look at him gloating. And basically what he said in the clip is, I told him he's moving mad. I told him he's moving mad. And that's your idea. No. That's your idea of someone hating on you or making fun of you.
That clip was edited improperly. I didn't edit the video. He went on Twitter and he replied, who? When Keemstar said that Sneako was banned on YouTube, he said, who? Question mark? Which I think, is making fun of the situation where I got banned because he clearly knows who I am. We went back and forth.
Sure, yeah,
so
I
he's
think
just trying
that
to gloat and he's trying to make it about him.
Okay, so let me ask you. So this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity right now. What do you think that you did wrong to contribute to your situation?
Here we go.
Of getting banned off of every social media platform?
Yes.
Tell the truth.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, all right, then this is my case in point. That's why I made the video. You are unable to see the ways in which you contribute to your own outcomes, and you just think you're just telling the truth.
You are unable to see why I got the strikes. You didn't talk about that. You didn't talk about the first strike was COVID misinformation, the second strike was election misinformation, and the third one was cyberbullying for a clip that was not even what you played in the video. It had nothing to do with that.
Listen, once you made that clip on that girl, you know what happens? She talks to her manager. Her manager goes to YouTube, and YouTube finds a way to go after you without making her implicated. The reason why they didn't cite that clip is they didn't want your fans to go after her so you can quote her. YouTube has good ways of working. They won't actually claim what it is exactly for. They understand you've broken the rules, and then they work backwards. You don't understand that once you made that video, YouTube was looking at you all kinds of crazy. Now, you don't need to believe that. You can believe it's something else. You can believe it's what's telling the truth. I'm just wondering, when are you going to come into this conversation and take accountability for why you are where you are?
You said yourself it was when I was being played in the Senate. It's much bigger than just one feminist getting mad at me.
Okay. So why haven't I been banned? Why hasn't Destiny been banned?
Wait, when did he say it was about being played in the Senate?
Hasn't anybody else on the is it because we're all bots?
Well, you play the middle ground. You don't really try to talk about stuff that's gonna make people uncomfortable.
Okay.
You don't talk about the issues that you don't question the powers that be, and you don't talk about the uncomfortable truths that are really happening.
Okay, what about Destiny?
Wait, hold on. I gotta ask. Hold on.
What about Destiny?
Wait, hold on.
Destiny?
To be clear, my advice to you is not the same, okay, as Abba, who's a bot, okay? My only advice typically is that, and I think I'll repeat the same thing I said all the time, is, and I take this as my own advice, is only fight with one person at a time. I think I've even told you that on stream.
I've never heard this take from Destiny. Not even, nor have I even thought about it. Let's dive into that one. I haven't heard that one.
I think off streaming before. As long as you fight with one person at a time, usually okay. But when you start dipping into like 2 or 3 or 4 different communities, shit gets like really because like it's kind of Abba basically just resaid what I had said before, or we're saying the same thing, that like when you do one really bad thing and people start to like, you catch their eye, people start to look for everything.
He said it a few times. I don't recall when he said it.
Axe you off of anything, and you'll start getting like, it's happening right now with a bunch of lefty YouTubers, actually me and Vosh, where people are just going through and like spam reporting every single video in our VODs because they don't like whatever shit. That's always like the thing to be careful of. But like, hold on.
So wait, only fight with one group of people because the number of weirdos that mass report you will get really high if you fight with multiple different groups of weirdos? Is that the reason why?
When you say like, I have to stand up for myself, okay, for a second. When you say like, don't speak truth to power or don't like make people uncomfortable, you understand that when you're talking about me, that's a really silly thing to say, right?
You make people uncomfortable, but not the powers that be, because it wasn't just YouTube. I was wiped off of every single social media platform except for Instagram. There's a reason that happened. There's a microscope on me.
Okay, well, hold on. I don't want to like make this a dick waving competition, but like I've been banned off TikTok, I've been banned off Twitter, I've been banned off.
Wait, what? Destiny got banned on TikTok?
Twitch. Like, how many social media platforms have you been banned off of?
All of them except for Instagram.
I've only been banned off 3.
Have you? Oh, did you up? Oh, speaking of Twitch, actually, real quick.
I got banned on Twitch for 2 days.
What was your ban for on Twitch?
Ban evasion.
Did you ever appeal that?
Yeah.
What did they say when you appealed?
They haven't replied, and it's been like 2 weeks.
That's weird.
Ban evasion.
That is very weird. Ban evasion for not being banned.
Account you never had before?
Yeah, because if you didn't have an account,
I never streamed on Twitch. No, so it's very clear that they don't want me. I'm talking about shit that they don't want to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure somebody played that clip of you doing that to that girl, and they said, we don't want you doing that about Pokemon or anybody else, and they said, this guy gotta go.
I think it's bigger than that clip. I think that's simplifying it for the audience that you have. I think it's much bigger. I think you're overlooking the COVID and the election misinformation part.
Wait, then why didn't he get banned when he was doing the COVID and election misinformation thing?
The first 2 strikes I got, that happened even before that clip happened.
Well, I mean,
Well,
listen,
why didn't he get permit then? If that's the biggest thing, why didn't he get permit then?
I can't speak to those two strikes. I will say that anytime I heard you speak about COVID or when you were...
Maybe you
No,
should-
I think RTBA said apparently Sneako is lying about this as well. Well, I have some faith in the bear, but listen, that sounds like something that needs substantiation.
Hold up. Let me finish. When I've heard you speak about COVID stuff or election stuff, you didn't know what you were talking about 95% of the time. I think there's a giant difference between someone's talking about edgy research or things that are counter to the popular narrative, and then what you were doing was just rambling about shit you didn't know about. Yeah, you sounded like a loony conspiracy theorist half the time you spoke about these. And if somebody else won't tell you, I will. So I'm not surprised they nailed you for that. There's sympathetic cases in which I think people make sensible cases against the COVID narrative, but you're not one of them. You were never one of them. You schizo about it.
This information is being posted all the time online. You can make an Earth is Flat documentary. You can make all these conspiracy theories, but why are only certain conspiracy theorists labeled as harmful, and why are only certain conspiracy...
Wait, COVID misinformation literally gets niggas killed. How many people have died because they believe the earth is flat in, like, the past 10 years?
Theorists taken off and removed? If you think I sound like a lunatic, but why is it that mine is the one that gets removed and other people, it's fine?
No, people who spread nonsense conspiracies get removed off YouTube every day. They just don't get to be as big as you. They didn't come in on the platform on some other shit where they were doing 1 minute podcasts that were like very kosher, and then once they had a big platform, all of a sudden they start talking loony conspiracies. But I can assure you, YouTube removes every single day a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists who talk just as bad as you, if not much worse.
What did I say that was nonsense?
Bro, if I'd watched you talk about COVID, I knew you didn't know what you're talking about.
What?
Now,
tell me something specific.
Bro, I'm not gonna pull up the clips. I just tell you
then
that.
Don't say it's nonsense. Don't overwrite it as like lunatic conspiracy.
Wait, what? Listen, I can understand why he'd be upset about ABBA not being able to provide evidence, but like this is kind of lame. The fact that like ABBA doesn't have clips, like, so you can never have an opinion on another person who is a content creator unless you have clips to prove it.
If you can't say one thing I said, that's nonsense.
Well, so hold on. So because I do a lot of vaccine studying, so like basically every comment you made about vaccines was like calling it the jab, saying that it was like government mandated shit that wasn't going to help you or make you feel any better. I don't know if you used the word poison ever in regards to it, but like basically everything you had to say about it was even like it. So like here's like a comparison I make, and I hate this guy and I disagree with him, but have you heard of like Brett Weinstein?
Yeah.
That dude is I'm pretty sure that guy is pretty vaccine skeptic, and he's talked about a lot of vaccine related issues, but I think he's still on. I think he literally has a show on YouTube. But he probably brings up like a lot of the points that filter down to you, but he says it in a way less inflammatory way. It doesn't sound like he's just like going crazy, like screaming about vaccine.
It's not really what you say, it's how you say it. Because Abed cannot give any specifics. He says overall it's nonsense, it's conspiracy theorist, lunatic garbage. But if I'm saying similar things to Brett Weinstein and I removed it, it's pretty much...
No. What you just said.
How you say it, not what you say.
What you just said.
If it triggers the bots, then they're going to remove it.
Yes.
If I'm too aggressive, if I'm too mean about it, then they got to remove it because people get.
Yeah, but what you just said is that's not only true on YouTube. That's true in life, right? Like how you say things sometimes is more important than what you say. In fact, you should know this from like your pickup artist shit, right? Or from like red pill stuff in terms of talking to women or whatever. Like sometimes it's not exactly what you say. Sometimes it's how you say things. But that's true everywhere. There's no place in life where that's not true, right? Like if I got a guy that I'm talking about and some guy's like, oh, is this guy very smart? And I'm like, of course he's not smart. He's a dumb fuck, right? That sounds a lot different than somebody saying like, is that guy smart? And I'm like, oh, well, you know, like he comes from like a really background. The guy never went to school, single mom or whatever. You know, like, yeah, he doesn't know a lot about finance. Now I'm saying the same thing, but it's way fucking different, right? Somebody's gonna hear the first thing and they're gonna lose their mind. They're gonna say, like, oh yeah, shit, okay, of course I understand, right? Even if it's the same thing, like how you phrase things or how you approach things. It's not so much that you're giving different information, it's that it makes the intention behind the information look a lot different. So like there are some
so many
Weinsteins
I can't
like,
keep
I hear them
count.
talk and I hate what they say, but it's probably coming from like a decent place, like a well-meaning place.
I don't know that many.
There are other vaccine skeptic people I hear where it's like, oh, this guy's just like
that...
filled with like vitriol and hate, and that's all he's about.
Brett
I'm not necessarily saying you are, but I'm saying like how you say things is pretty important.
Okay. I think I proved my point by saying Abba labeled me as a crazy lunatic conspiracy theorist and could not say one thing.
Yeah, because you know what? When I hear retarded shit, I try not to keep it in my memory. And you said so much retarded, dumb stuff on your streams, I just would erase it immediately afterwards.
Destiny, you've heard this repeated in your panels. XQC said dumb shit. That other guy on the Muda, the Indian dude, said it's retarded. And every single time, I was like, okay, what's dumb about what I said? And nobody knows anything. They just don't like the way I said it, so they label it as
No.
retarded and write it off instead of listening to what
Wait,
I'm saying.
Destiny
So
just
it doesn't
gave
matter to
them some-
They'll lowbrow me because they're 35 and they think that they know more than what I'm talking about, and they've been brainwashed to this point where they don't feel like they need to listen to me. But it's fine. They never know why they think I'm retarded. They just say I'm retarded, overwrite me, and then move on.
Yeah, that's generally how it works. When I watch something that's incredibly stupid on somebody's stream, I turn it off and move on to the next thing. And so, no, I'm gonna finish.
If you're a commentary channel, maybe you should have some points to bring up.
If you want me to do an actual debate with you where I go and grab clips, I would normally, but everything's deleted, so a little bit hard to quote all the dumb shit you said. But absolutely, I would watch your stuff. I'm like, this is inaccurate, and I would just move on, stop watching it. Now you can go watch a debate with Destiny, and you could probably find a bunch of stuff that you said that was dumb. Just because I can't quote it to you doesn't mean you didn't say it. Just because my memory can't remember doesn't mean it didn't happen.
You're getting a little heated about it. I can remember all of Destiny's points that he brings up and tell you why I think he's wrong about it.
Okay, well, congratulations. You got a better memory than me.
Yeah, I know, but for you to have such a strong opinion about what I believe and to say it's dumb, stupid, retarded, and all this, and then not know one reason is pretty predictable. And we've heard it over and over again. DGG, everybody in this chat has heard it over and over again. I'll question people, why do you think it's stupid? They don't know.
I think there's a different barrier for like the expectation of knowing particular things depending on the environment you're confronting somebody at. So like, what? No, hold on. So like here's the thing, right? So this is something that I'll repeat a lot on stream. So my first relationship, well, my second one, my kid's mom, got really physically abusive. There's a lot of crazy shit that happened. And we fought over the dumbest things. It was so stupid every fucking time. It was like the most random stupid shit. But if something, and it was a lot. I called the cops on her 3 times. It was a crazy relationship. But if somebody would say, oh, really? You fought over dumb shit? What'd you fight over? Name 2 things. I actually don't know if I could. I don't know. I don't remember the specifics. I think as humans, I think we remember kind of these broad like characterizations of things. But we don't archive like every single individual fact because we're not computers. We usually come away from a feeling. We usually come away from an event with a certain feeling or emotion about it, and that's all we really take with us.
Like how Abba did going into this call, with a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings about how I'm stupid, but nothing to back.
Well, no. Hold on. To be clear, wait. Abba came to this call to argue.
Wait,
really?
what?
Did he really just?
Did he? What?
Oh, he mad.
He comes back, right?
Wait, is my stream dead?
Oh,
Wait.
I think he left.
Yeah, that's why I just said really.
What?
Yeah, he said, I came into this call to argue and do this. I didn't come to this call.
No, yeah, fuck. I was just going to say that. Yeah, to be clear, Abba came into this call to
buddy.
chat with me and Dan about, oh, well, fuck.
See, this guy always runs away from accountability. That's why I find these red pill dudes often
President
really cringe to me.
Sunday exit?
It's like
Yeah.
all accountability for women, none for themselves. Bad things happen to you, it's always the world. Like, I can't take you seriously as a man when you get up on this stream and you're crying about how things have happened to you, but you don't see the ways in which you contributed.
I feel like I've really forgotten to do something, but I can't put my finger on it. Any tips on jogging my memory? Nope. I know what you mean, though.
I understand. Like, listen, I remember this.
Oh, yeah, I remembered. Shouting out the like button, all right? If you want to encourage me to continue streaming on YouTube, smash the like button, huh? Beat the shit out of the like button. If you like ad-free viewing, if you want to give me a chance at growth, organic growth on a platform because Twitch ain't it, hit the like button. It helps. It helps a lot. Also, I would say that the environment of YouTube, I just like it a lot. I like it a lot better as the environment. I needed a change of pace, very much. Something I do want to start doing, though, is allocating more time to Twitch because I feel like I've pretty much abandoned my Twitch stream. So I want to, like, put 1 or 2 hours on Twitch and genuinely use Twitch for its intended purpose of playing games and then coming to YouTube afterwards, or maybe just hanging out on Twitch doing normal content, for 1 or 2 hours, then getting the unsanctioned content on YouTube.
Happened to me maybe 5 years back, right?
Thank you to the 30 people who liked the stream after that, by the way. 30 of you liked the stream after that. Shout out. I appreciate it.
I ended up getting jumped when I left a club at one point, okay? What had happened was that?
I just wanted to say bye. I'm about to go get something to eat.
Okay. All right, man. Go enjoy yourself.
Love you, buddy.
So,
wait, are you guys in Miami right now, or?
Yeah, I'm in Miami.
Okay, cool. We might, if you want to get something to eat later when he's less mad. I'm here for a week and a half, so. But yeah.
Miami?
Yeah, I live down at I think I live like 5 minutes west of you guys. Yeah.
All right. You guys want to hear something? I think you guys are gonna be proud of me.
Go for it. What's up?
I've realized I'm not a debater. I'm a master debater.
Nice.
And I just realized, man, I know my lane, so I'm gonna let you guys do the debating stuff. I'm gonna gladly watch with my popcorn, mouth full. But you guys have a W stream. Chat! W's in the stream right now! Spam the W's up, chat! Right now! Alright, bye, Abba. Bye, Destiny.
Abba, when you want me on your dating show, you can talk to me nice again. Bye.
What?
Damn.
Dude, that was really lame. He made his exit worse.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm out, dude.
Oh yeah. No, sorry, dude. You're in the middle of a bunch of wild stream drama. Don't worry. We're and in the streamer world, we're all
I've subscribed, but every time I come back to your channel, I'm unsubbed for some reason. It happens to a few channels I've subscribed to. Rocky, I have no idea about that. I have no idea how to fix that either.
all Kanye West. You know, just it is what it is.
It's just, bro. I came on the street to talk economics and record labels, and then it turned into like, bro, quote the dumb stuff I've said before.
You understand my empathy drives on working on Max here. I'm sympathetic for him and empathetic to some extent, because like he probably had one of the biggest ricochets of like a rubber bands in career terms of like all time, right? Like he went from like being kind of like decently popular to grow, and in the past year he shut up immensely, had a 6-figure month on YouTube, and then next month was deleted off the internet, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I can understand him not wanting to feel like I don't want to hear this shit right
Twitch,
now about how like, it's my fault, I didn't do this and blah blah blah. Like everybody's after me, everybody's out to get me. I can understand that emotional response. I always say like in debates, I don't expect
no way to
I wouldn't. I don't. I'm stubborn. But yeah, at some point he needs to he has to step back and be like, okay, what is like within my control? Like what can I do? You know, like when I like, because I've gotten banned from so much shit at this point. Like when I get banned, my first day I'll always say this out, like I'm gonna be mad as fuck. I'm gonna blame the world because fuck the world and it's not fair and it's not, it's bullshit. And I'll complain about that and I'll feel that. But then like day 2 is like, okay, well what can I do now? Because there's no point in crying over spilt milk. I'm not gonna be sad over shit that's happened. Life isn't fair, but so the fuck what? Like let's see what we do next. What other platform can we build? How can I change my behavior, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have to be able to do that second step, or else like my worry for Sneako is he's gonna be a guy like basically ranting about the Matrix, you know, to 45 viewers on Rumble, you know, 6 months from now, blaming like everybody, and then he's gonna get banned from Rumble somehow when they get bigger and pick up sponsors, and he's gonna be like, this is bullshit. Andrew Tate abandoned me.
The reason why I'm mad is I think it's sad. I think it's so avoidable, and we all said it was avoidable.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I'm mad.
Yeah, as
That's
soon
why
as he
I'm mad.
started fighting with like KSIs and like started to get more unhinged and like fighting with every single fucking person, and like wasn't like willing to like chill just a little bit, like cool your jets.
It's like watching somebody who drinks and drive get in a car accident, and then you ask him why, and then they say the other driver was stupid. It's like, bro,
JFQT,
you
I don't
see
know,
you're gonna
maybe.
keep drinking and driving. Okay, then go do whatever you want to do. At some point, I'm not going to emotionally invest myself into making sure. And like, I didn't even. He got mad at me because I didn't cover the topic.
Well,
know, so
probably
it's like,
because
why
what
did
he
you
was
talk
asking,
about
he probably wanted favorable coverage. That's probably what he
Yeah,
was.
that's definitely what I wanted.
Which is such bullshit. Don't ask me for that. If I don't say nothing, it's generally because I have nothing positive to say most of the time.
Sure.
That's why that was me doing you a solid. I didn't keep open my mouth because if I would, I'm not going to get here and do some fucking, you know,
PR
fluff
stunt
piece
for
to
you,
make
basically.
I don't do that for nobody. I'm not going to do that. So I was hitting up offline and be like, yo, be careful. He didn't want to hear. He said, yo, these guys are whack. They didn't cover. I said, you want me to cover it? I'll cover it and I'll say the truth. Now, you don't need to like it. I don't really care at this point. But to me, there's just something really annoying about people who just expect everybody else to take accountability but don't understand their own involvement in situation. I get what you're saying about being maximum empathy, but at some point when everybody warns you what it is, and it's a different thing if something happens to you randomly, and then someone's like, yo, this is your fault. You know, I can understand you being salty about that.
Yeah.
When like everybody's warning you. Everyone on the face of the planet's telling you you're going too fast and you don't give a shit. And then afterwards, you want to act all mad about everything, bro. You lose a lot of my sympathy at that point.
I think it's
We
funny.
all saw you-
Obviously,
Yeah,
he's
I think
not
I
going
actually,
to.
I think there's probably a stream clip as soon as I think I literally said exactly to him that like, bro, you got to be careful because when you're on top and everybody's behind you, you'll feel like the wind is in your sails and you can take on the fucking world. But as soon as like the tides turn a little bit, you're going to be the loneliest motherfucker on the planet. And it always happens. Nobody has the internet jerk wave in their favor forever. Like the tides turn, like the waves ebb and flow. You can't pull that shit off forever. And you have to be like in a comfortable spot so that like when people start to hate on you, you're like, oh, you know, I'm fine. I can chill or whatever. But if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, once the
What
like
the
waves
fuck
are
is
against
he
you, like,
drilling?
it's always the end. That's like the death knell for like every content creator that dies that way.
Yeah, and there's two separations when it comes to like what's smart and what's right. And I try to make that distinction in the video. I'm like, I think it's absolutely wrong that he got deplatformed.
For sure, I agree. Yeah.
But there's a difference between that and what's smart. I agree he shouldn't get deplatformed. but if you're out here simulating yourself fucking other people, if you're talking about COVID during a pandemic where, you know, YouTube is extremely sensitive about all this information and you don't do proper research, and you don't like think about what the fuck that is that you're saying, when you're doing that, you're playing stupid.
Yeah, it's wild as fuck, but I actually can't believe I'm saying this. This is like a weird thing, but do you know who Low Tier God is?
Yes, I do know who he is.
Yeah, that guy actually, every single thing he's had to say on stuff related to this is completely right. He's like, bro, like, people don't want this shit on their platforms. Like, it's as simple as that. And until you need to start looking at it like that. Like, what do they want on their platforms? If you're trying to think of like,
hey,
well, what's
yo,
right
Cherry,
and
what's
what's
up?
moral and what's, you know, supposed to be
Yeah,
blah,
I
blah,
know,
blah. Like, you're
new channel.
Like, that's not how these platforms work.
Dude, I haven't been more excited for a new orbiter than Low Tier God I don't think ever. I think Mutahar was a really cool new orbiter. Abba, it was probably Abba, was the new person in the Destiny sphere that I was at a similar level of excitement for as Low Tier God. I am so ready. I am just so ready for the Low Tier God shit, dude. Oh my god. He's one of the most entertaining people on the internet to me.
Thinking about like their business, about their bottom line.
Mutahar, some ordinary gamers. He says, I'm pretty sure his name's Mutahar. Or Mutahar or something.
And they don't want to carry like ultra risky content and shit, and that's just the facts. Yeah.
Cherry.
But,
I mean, that's a tough truth. I don't know. I just don't understand this kind of autistic, like, this is the truth and I'm going to say no matter what. And because I believe it, it's like, you know what? Everything you say comes with a certain level of responsibility.
JFQT, I've had so many people say they want to play Foxhole with me, but the problem is nobody's coordinated with like doing shit. Like, I made calls to action in my Discord and stuff, and it feels like right now pretty much the only way I could get a group of people together to play would be to like at the every single person DM every single person. Yeah, nah, bro. Thank you for becoming a member. For anybody who doesn't know, membership stuff is up. Apparently, it's pretty much the same as subbing on Twitch. So yeah, membership shit. I activated that last stream yesterday on YouTube. So yeah, that's up and available if you want to, you know, help out that way.
When somebody's paying your bills, it's like you got to understand how you're talking about these topics.
Mr. Blade, yeah, I did that I think 2 days ago
because when it affects their bottom line. So you got to be smart. I'm not saying you can't say what you want to say, but if you're not even going to take the time to think it through, I mean, the business is going to act in its own interest. I don't think it's right, but it's just like, how do you think this kind of stuff should unfold, in your opinion?
For me, like, how should people like Sneako be dealt with?
I don't see memberships
no,
on
what
mobile.
can we reasonably expect from platforms? I'm not asking.
I think platforms need to fucking nut up. Okay, the idea, like, I just think platforms are pussies these days. I understand the expectation is going to act like pussies, but like when fucking Google is like pulling shit from people off of YouTube, like, bro, nobody's going to stop using fucking YouTube because Sneako's on YouTube. Like, don't be fucking crazy, you know? Like I feel like platforms, for some reason, they give in so easily, and like I really don't. I know people say, oh, public pressure, blah blah. I don't think the public pressures are that much. I think the platforms are just super babies about it. But I mean, like, that's how they're going to act. I understand. Yeah.
You remember Adpocalypse?
Low Tier God said he watches Destiny and
somebody started reporting the fact that there's a bunch of weird stuff on YouTube, and all of a sudden advertisers start pulling their dollars.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, right?
I think that was in response. Was that the Jake Paul shit, or was that before that?
I think it might have been something else. I can't remember what the thing is. Now, imagine how easy it is for anybody to say, this is what male creators are doing on YouTube. They run his clip. How many advertisers do you think are going to pull? No,
I mean, I understand. Like, it could get bad. It's always random. You never know. But like, yeah, it could get really bad, of course.
Right. Because that's stuff that's kind of hard to defend, or how hard to, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. But the only thing that sucks is that, like, at some point you would hope, and I know it's naive maybe, but like you'd hope that like companies would take like some sort of like principled stance on things. That it's like, well, you know, maybe it's important that we have like edgy content, or maybe it's important that we don't, like, you know, like, I think that.
Whoa.
What?
Just like 30 minutes ago, you and Dan were fighting me tooth and nail on like some kind of pro-capitalist thing where companies will fuck over anybody to make their bottom line and make all their investment back. You don't think YouTube operates in that capacity at all?
Yeah,
you're talking about principles of a company, and like just earlier, just talking about like it's a capitalistic investment when it comes to artists and how they treat them.
Yep. So the difference is that like different.
Am I getting spoilers?
Entities can bear different things, and I tend to judge people on what they can bear. So like When I say that, like, I don't really approve of gambling that much, I don't think I take a gambling sponsor, and I end up doing it, and people judge me for it, it's like, that's fair. You can judge me. I make a lot of fucking money. I don't need to take a gambling sponsorship to survive, right? But if there's like a 200 viewer streamer, and they're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about gambling, and then a big sponsorship comes by, and 200 viewers, damn, that's a lot more to that person. I can understand their situation being a bit more compromised. I don't know if the entire music industry could exist offering every individual talent preferable contracts. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. But I do know that Google could have more of a backbone and resist some sort of advertiser pressure for at least a little bit to show that, like, hey, listen, like, we can have a diversity of content. People aren't going to fucking mass leave the platform. Like, it's bullshit that you guys are having this reaction. I think most of you come crawling back. Like, I think Google could bear it a bit more, but that's just how I view it.
I mean, it certainly could if Google was like a person with individual principles, but I think as a company, it's just really thinking about profits for the most part. I think its principles or whatever it professes, I think we both know that shit's secondary if non-existent. So
of course, but I mean, the
way YouTube acts is exactly how I would expect the capitalistic company that you guys described earlier to act. Which is,
but the hope,
I'm going to prioritize profit.
Yeah, the hope would be that in like it for the long-term health of the market, like we're not. If we keep running down this path, it's probably not going to be where we want to be. It's probably not a good thing, right?
Oh, I agree.
Because like look at like today, like all like
now
Ethan got fucking
introducing ethics into how companies run their business.
And Ethan just got like hit for a week from fucking YouTube. He probably feels mind fucked right now. Vosh took 2 strikes on his channel. He's feeling mind fucked.
Vosh took 2 strikes. Why?
Over to like fucking everything, which is getting a little bit spooky, I think.
Also, one thing I reject the whole notion that like one person monopolizes the truth. One thing that Sneako does that I find absolutely cringe is like, I'm just telling the truth. I'm always the one who's telling the truth. And it's like, wait, so you think everybody else who's on that panel when you were speaking in front of Congress or whatever, do you think everybody else there doesn't speak any form of truth? It's only you? And I think in his head, he really believes that. I'm like, Destiny, you don't think that you take on hard topics even just as much as Sneako?
No, yeah, I need to stick up. I said I was going to stick up for somewhere. I get Trainwrecks does that shit a lot too, where people will be in rooms like, I'm the only one that stands up for hard things. Like, bro, no, it's not. You're just wild, okay? I stand up for a lot of hard things. I've taken a lot of big revenue hits and shit. I got departnered over my Rittenhouse comments. I got fucking banned from Twitch that I've been on for 12 fucking years. Like chill. Like, all you're out here doing is like repeating shit that you heard on the fucking Joe Rogan podcast. Don't act like you're taking hard positions. Like, you've done like 2 seconds of reading on these topics. Fuck you. No, yeah, it's kind of dumb, I think, when people go for shit like that. Yeah.
Desolate Mirror, that is pretty weird.
What else was there? I think that pretty much covers that whole situation.
Targeted mass reporting, I think. I don't know by who. So it wasn't like because he said anything or did anything.
Yeah, I think one thing that he said that I remember I got really annoyed with was when he said, this you can see in the video. I pretty much quote it, but he says, if you guys really cared, because he says, like, Abba calls me sometimes. He says he cares as he's giving me advice privately. If you really cared, you'd talk about my deplatform. And my thing was like, bro, when I was giving you advice offline to how to keep your channel and keep things running, you didn't think that was caring at all? Like, sometimes I think the people expect you to show appreciation for them is to either, like, suck off what they say or to, like, support anything they do irrespective of how wrong they are. And to me, that's not really supporting somebody. To me, that's not actually being, somebody who cares about somebody.
Yeah.
I have to be able to tell you the truth when you're acting stupid, and I have to be able to tell you like some uncomfortable stuff, even if you end up hating me, because that's what it means, in my opinion, to care about someone.
Yeah, of course. I say this all the time. You don't want like a friend group of dick riders because like you're never gonna get good advice, and then one day you're gonna be left like completely fucked, wondering what happened, and it's like, well, nobody around you had the actual like balls to tell you like what you needed to hear,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was like.
Is it time to go to the? Apparently they debate. I didn't think they would actually debate the Jewish shit. Apparently they do.
One thing that bothered me, and I think that's probably why I got a bit emotional when he's on my case, because I'm just like, bro, I don't waste my time talking to people offline. Like, I can count on probably at one hand how many creators I really talk to offline. So if I take time, obviously, it's like, and you just spit that in my face, like, oh, you don't give a shit. I'm like, bro, you can't be helped. And I don't even think this is a relationship that we should keep going, because I don't think I can do much more. You get me? So I think that's probably why I got annoyed. But yeah, I think that's the extent of what I got on that topic. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate because I think there's a potential there to do a lot of good go forth. But, if people want to squander it because they don't want to listen to nobody, then like, what can you do? Another thing that pissed me off too? It was like, you and I would say some shit, and this guy would be like, oh, you guys are bots, you're blue pilled, whatever. Andrew Tate would repeat the same thing. All of a sudden, he's sucking his dick. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, fuck no, dude. Oh,
Get the fuck up out of here.
No.
I literally, I played clips back to back of what Andrew Tate said, what I said, and this dude had so much smoke when I said it. I'm like, ooh.
Wait, are you talking about when
I have no idea about this.
Tate was talking about the college shit?
You'll go to school. The very talented kids will be taken to the side. You're the top 1%. You're going to a separate class. And if you're not put in that separate class, you know you ain't shit. You're just like, okay, I'm working in the factory. Yes, sir. That's my job. And you're just going to do your job because the ego ain't there. So the ego is a fantastic thing for America, but it's also a detriment. So it can play both ways. But
I think if you know the value that you bring to the world, you understand what you bring, then you could kind of put yourself in a position to win, because we're not all going to be, like you said, leaders. Some people are followers. So.
But this is my point. When everyone has an ego, everyone wants to be the king on the chessboard.
Yeah.
You don't win.
I feel like when I was talking to Sneako, didn't I actually use the exact phrase like too many chiefs and not enough Indians? Probably because society works better when you've got a lot of followers and just a few leaders. If you've got a society full of people
right?
Yeah, if you got a society full of everybody wants to be a leader, too many chiefs, not enough Indians is a saying, right? Then like society would probably fall into fucking disarray. Everything would
Never
be
heard that
fucking,
saying before.
Like there's a name for this. Like it's a well observed thing where everybody thinks they want to be a leader and everybody wants to blah blah blah.
The chess game by having endless kings. That just gives you a bunch of vulnerabilities. Everyone has to know their role and play it. I've played the role of fucking pawn, knight, my whole life. I was pawn, knight, bishop, rook.
No, I didn't talk about the call. I didn't see that clip.
Oh, dude, oh my god, I almost lost my mind. So we're watching this.
I've heard too many cooks in the kitchen, too many chefs in the kitchen.
I've
heard that before.
Meeting bullshit or whatever. And Andrew Tate is talking about how like, yeah, I think like, you know, you got to find what you're good at and you've got to do it. And I think Sneako says something like, oh yeah, but like everybody's got to be a superstar. Like you should go for the max. And Andrew Tate was like, no, of course not. Some people, their role in life might be to be like a really good auto mechanic or something. Like not everybody has to be like the top. Like it doesn't work when you've got everybody wanting to be a leader. Like you need a lot of followers. Like, you know, when I was this, I played my role. I went to the gym. The guy told me to punch the bag. I did it for, 10 months and I didn't think about it, blah, blah, blah. And Sneako said nothing the whole time. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like saying almost verbatim, like some of the lines that like me and Abba were giving him in the college debate. And he like, we just sat there and took it all. I was like, oh my God, I'm so triggered right now. Yeah. Also,
where's the truth then? If you always keep the truth, why didn't you keep that same energy? I'm like, bro, you see? So when it's somebody you need something from, all of a sudden you start quiet. That's the shit that really like annoyed me, especially when he tries to monopolize the fact that he's always a truth teller. I'm like, bro, miss me with it. You gonna say something?
No, yeah, I agree. It's just, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. It's just like, come on, bro. But anyways, that's not something you have to stay on. It's just those little tiny things that I'm like, you don't see anything you did wrong in all of these things, no?
That was the most telling thing to me when he straight up point blank asked him, like, did you do anything wrong? And then Sneako was like, no. Like, bro, I don't know. As a human, even if I have done absolutely nothing wrong, man, that is an easy question to get me on because I feel like I have to say yes, no matter what it is. Like, I could have just fucking prevented a mass shooting, and then somebody would have been like, you don't feel like you did anything wrong? And I would, bro, I don't, it would mind fuck me, man.
Okay, then I'll let this go.
And you don't have to see things you did wrong. Fuck it, you don't even need to be like, you can keep your ego. Just, do you see something you could have done differently, right? That's at the end of the day, like at least figure that out,
Who's this?
Which is wild because you see Andrew Tate comes out afterwards and recognizes the way his messaging was wrong.
Dude, okay, yeah, I was gonna Okay, you just asked me what we were gonna say and I wasn't gonna say that, I didn't bring it up. But yeah, no, you're right. Because I was gonna say, and I don't wanna do this because it feels like I'm trying to lowbrow or do some weird shit or like throw Tate in his face. But you're 100% right. I watched Andrew Tate's whole apology shit and everything he said was like, this is the perfect PR statement. It's the best PR statement I've ever heard in my life. Hopefully he believes some of it, or he believes all of it, maybe ideally, right? But like, yeah, him talking about like, even though I've got a certain message, I need to be careful when a lot of people are listening to me and blah, blah, blah. Andrew Tate's message was perfect. Like, I almost want to say, like, bro, Sneako, just go listen to what Andrew Tate said about everything. He was 1,000,000% right, and copy that advice. Because it's honest to God, the best advice. That clip or that like video of Andrew Tate talking about going from a small creator to a huge creator and having responsibility in your messaging, that was probably the best like explanation of that I've ever heard in my life, given by Andrew Tate. And it's golden advice, but I, to throw that in his face, I think it would come off as like me being like, told you so. Everything probably feels like that to him, but yeah.
I mean, at this point it does, but I think part of being, I don't know, a grown-up is understanding like you got to be able to hear some of the shit, even though it's not fun. It's not fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes. What Tate, like, I was really impressed when I saw the Tate video in that regards because to me it did sound sincere, so that's why I give him extra bit of credit. But it is a very mature thing to do because he could have said, "I'll let my nuts hang and fuck all you guys. I'm Tate. I live in Bucharest. I got millions." But he didn't do that. He said, "You know what? With reflection and talking to other people, I realized that my messaging wasn't the best.
What are the chances he's trying to say that though to get unbanned? I agree with them because I remember the footage and it was a big moment. But I don't know what are the chances he was just saying that to get unbanned.
I allowed myself to easily be misconstrued, or I should be more cognizant of what I sound like in front of millions of people, because opportunity for people to misunderstand if I'm not careful with my words is much larger. And I'm like, yeah, that's a sensible, responsible take. But the fact that it came from Angel, I was like, that's great. I'm just wondering, like, why wouldn't you think of emulating that or thinking that's a good thing? And that was part of my video as well. It's like, yo, Angel did it. What you can't see. So that's why when he came on today, I was hoping. But I also understand maybe it's because it's fresh. I don't know.
I'm hoping. I mean, like, maybe I'm like a Sneako fanboy, I guess. But I'm like hoping in like a month or two, he just needs to fucking pump the brakes in the meantime. But like in a month or two, I'll be like, okay, yeah, like I thought about this. Like I need to change up in this way and that way, and try to work on rebuilding in a more responsible way. Like,
was that the point? Say something sensible to get unbanned.
It's hard when everybody around you is like saying.
Maybe, but I don't think Andrew Tate really believed he was going to get unbanned, right?
When you feel like the world's against you, and everything seems to be reinforcing the ideas you have about the world, right?
Like Andrew Tate, could you imagine all the flack YouTube would get for unbanning Andrew Tate? Even if he did just say that to try and get unbanned, that at the least shows that there's an understood the perspective of moderation. Maybe. Oh yeah. At least he understands how the system works, and he didn't just bullshit his way through it.
Fine. You realize when he gets banned from these platforms, in his mind, everything he said was true. It is the Jews, it is the Senate, it is everybody out to get him. Like, it's just being reinforced over and over again. And it's like, yeah, I know why you feel that way. Like, I've had that feeling too, that the whole fucking world is against you, of course. Like, but yeah. Okay, go. Final thoughts, whatever. I've got Mr. Rose Wrist here, and then I've got another Mr. Girl here that I think wants to chat.
Nah, I got no final thoughts, man.
Okay.
Enjoy your conversations with whoever it is. And is Dan still here? No, Dan's not here. Well, it was a good chat. So.
All right, let's listen to that good chat.
When you're going into most of this stuff, you don't know what the you're talking about.
If they're not dumb, are they just genetically inferior? Of course. Lack of education, lack of finance. Yeah, they have to be. You can't say that they're all like the same level of intelligence. Otherwise, then what explains for their failures? What, like, yeah, of course.
I have no problem saying that. And it's not to look down on them. That's just what it is.
Abba, do you know who AD is?
Wait, what?
Is that from No Jumper?
Yeah.
What about him?
Apparently, he wants to jump in and chat about the copyright thing. Is this guy? Do you both support, broadly speaking, Kanye West's comments?
Nah.
I'm not everything that not everything that he said, but
who is that?
Yeah, Jadion's about to jump in with that liberal racism.
Nah, it's me, Sneako.
What you think about the Kanye West interview? And you be very candid.
I don't know if I've seen it. I actually don't think I have.
Oh, it's wild. You might actually get offended, Dan. I'd be offended.
I saw clips from it. That I think I did, but I don't remember. It was one that he was saying that like
he's out of line.
He said some shit about Jews, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
He says you guys control a lot of things.
Yeah, but he's just a dude who's bipolar. Like, it sucks. Like that. I don't like look into it. He's obviously off his rocker, or he's just a tip. I mean, like, you know, I know us white guys like to think that we have a minority on being like ignorant and racist, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Like, anyone can actually believe this. It's like super easy and like convenient to just believe there's like this shadow cabal of Jews that are running the world and like meeting up on Friday night at Discord and just being like, hey, what are we doing today? It doesn't, just stupid.
Okay, so let's move away from the crazy characterization as a shadow cabal. I've heard rappers rapping about the fact that everything is controlled by Jewish people since like the 90s, okay, from every record label to music. Would it not make sense that for Kanye, who's working in these industries, that there's an overrepresentation of Jewish people at the top? If we're being charitable.
I mean, that's just, if you look at where a lot of Jews have spent time, you'll find that a lot of them were involved with arts and media for a long time. That's like a big thing.
Am I the only one who hasn't looked into this? Am I the only one on the planet that has it? I swear to God, so many people are like saying shit like this, and it's like, bro, am I the only one?
The thing that the Jewish culture is based around is arts and media. And, you know, we're overrepresented in certain categories. I'll agree, but that's just because there's going to be a lot of, I guess, generational stuff. Like if your father was an artist or your grandfather was an artist and things along those lines, like you're probably likely to fall in that path or managing or whatever it is.
Okay. So when you see artists signing 360 deals, getting f***ed over by record labels, all these record labels, you know, having agents who are also like, listen, when I spent time in Los Angeles and even right now working with casting agents like that, vast majority of them are all Jewish folks.
So
whatever reason.
Let me tell you right now, I'm already going to disagree with the idea that they're getting fucked over. And
what, with the 360 deals?
Hold on. And the reason I'm saying that, I don't even know what the fuck that is, but I'm just going to say broadly speaking. hold on. I don't even know what a 360 deal is, so I can't say, but broadly speaking, I'm sure that the music business is almost the same as the venture capital business, where you lose a lot of money on a lot of people with the hope that one time when you have someone blow up, that you're making it all back. Okay, so that's my understanding of probably how it's going to work. Meaning that when you finally fucking make it, like, you know, and you're the new whatever, you know, someone huge, that this fucking, you know, what it's going to seem like is this Jewish guy who really didn't do that much is taking whatever 20%, 30% of your cut. You know, and it's like, what did he really do? All he did was spend like 50K on some recording sessions with me. Why the should I give him 30%? It's because he spends 50K on like 1,000 other dipshits that fucking go nowhere.
Ooh, real quick on that same take, if you want the ultra scorching burned earth.
I mean, that sounds reasonable. I want to hear if Abba disagrees with that. I want to hear if Abba disagrees. That sounds reasonable to me.
Take. And I could be wrong, and there might be more information I could read about. So, but I don't want to do the research. I just want to give my ultra hot take. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with Dave Chappelle when he talks about how he says he got fucked over by some people in the business early on. It kind of sounded like what Dan is talking about, where it's the standard, like, basically there's people that take risks on a lot of, like, up-and-comers and shit, and, you know, they took a risk on him, and he ended up being really successful. He's like, oh, well, why'd you guys me over so hard? It's like, because they're investing in a ton of, like, random fucking people. Who the fuck knows who's going to make it or not? Like, 99 investments fail and one succeeds, and the guy that succeeds feels like he's getting fucked over, when the reality is he wouldn't have made it if other people weren't, like, willing to take a bit of a risk on him in the beginning. Based on how I heard him, I listened to one of his stand-up specials where he described the deal with Netflix and other people. It's like, when I was a kid, I got fucked over when I signed these deals, and it's like, dude, they didn't know you were going to blow up. They didn't know that, like, it was going to be as successful as it was going to be. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. So we have to separate the era of today from the era of the past. Okay. The era of the past had literally one way towards the top. So absolutely, there's people being taken advantage every single day. When you heard, you know, deals about people making little to no money off every record that they sold. When you heard about, like, there's literally organizations where they would take music from black folks and then just give it to, like, folks like Elvis Presley or other people who were, like, sanitized. There was absolutely nothing they could do in these kinds of circumstances because there was no avenues to come up other than going through radio stations. You know, these people had a control for distribution. They had a control in regards to how the music was heard, if it was ever heard. So the idea that today is similar to the past is, like, non sequitur. These are completely different things. So if we're just talking about today, we can have a much more nuanced discussion. If you're talking about the past, nobody can really convince me that there wasn't a tremendous amount of exploitation in regards to artists of all races.
I have no idea about the past. I have no idea about whatever. I'm just talking about Dan's explanation. That shit seems reasonable to me. The idea itself that many music labels might give you a certain like time in the booth or whatever, taking a significant risk on new talent. That could cost them tens of thousands of dollars, in the hopes that, you know, doing it for hundreds of people in the hopes that one of them is successful, and then kind of fucking over that one person with how much money they're taking from them, from that one person's perspective. That shit makes sense. Business-wise, logically, it makes sense. Everyone would do that, I think, at least, right? I mean, that's the only way that you're going to be able to potentially be competitive with signing new talent.
But especially for minority communities. Now, I want to ask you guys, which conversation y'all trying to have?
Well, I mean, I don't think either of us would disagree about the I mean, there was we didn't have the Civil Rights Act. I'm sure there were people getting over in the black community, of course. Yeah, but I don't think that, like...
this is up until the 90s. This is up until the 90s. So I'm not talking about the civil rights or anything like that. I'm talking about even in the 90s this was the case.
So can you give me some examples of, like, big artists in the 90s you feel got over?
In terms of music artists?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going through music artists, you can actually look at TLC as a really solid example. TLC actually had a whole complaint where they came up on their award ceremony where they won a Grammy. They're like, yo, listen, we ain't even got a dime to our name. Because at the time, the way the deal worked is that they wouldn't make most of the money from touring, which is crazy. Because nowadays, artists get their money from touring. Even if they don't get money from the record label if they sign up front, they at least get their money from touring. These motherfuckers got nothing. So the record labels were taking money from the touring. They were taking money from every digital sales. They were taking money from TV appearances. And they weren't just taking like a portion. They were taking the vast majority. Now, we can make an argument that the person who invests up front should definitely take a substantial cut. But these weren't just substantial. These were like all-encompassing. And they would put everything towards administrative fees, all this stuff, and they would just jack up the prices. Now, things have changed today because of streaming service, because people can self-publish, because people can cut a lot of these corners or do things without all these middlemen who just beefed up. It's kind of like what you guys spoke earlier. Remember when you guys talked about, like, when you get an insurance company involved, all of a sudden everyone jacks up all the prices, right? Even though the service is not better, they're not actually anything a service, because they know an insurer is going to pay. They don't care. That was the same thing that was happening to these artists, but to worse degrees. And you also have to imagine there's something. Okay, I don't know if you guys agree with me. Can we agree that if an artist chooses to sign a deal of their own volition, that doesn't change the fact that the deal is still potentially predatory?
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Okay, so when you're talking about a bunch of individuals who have little to no financial literacy, do not understand the deals that they're getting, don't understand the long-term implications, that there's a lot of opportunity for these industries who have all this knowledge and who have all this forethought to put them on deals that not only not work to the artist's benefit, but also f them over royal.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, I would imagine almost everybody was probably getting f***ed over in that case. It wouldn't have just been like minorities. I don't even know if it would have been especially minorities. It probably would have been anybody working in entertainment.
But I would, which is why I caveated at the beginning, saying this is not just a minority thing. This is happening to all kinds of us. I think just minorities feel especially just because like they had a monopoly in terms of like what was hip hop and what was coming out. Yet all the people who were in charge of ownership or the people that were fucking them over or signing them on bad long-term deals were people who were of Jewish heritage. So you see this. I guess what I'm gonna get at before I let you guys go.
Like, is this just a foregone thing that these people were Jews? Is this just something? I don't know. I haven't looked into this. Nobody's fighting on this, so I'm assuming it's a foregone conclusion.
Artists and black folks who are in the hip hop industry since the 90s have been complaining about Jewish control in regards to media corporations. And to their credit, most of the people who are signing them to shitty deals and f***ing them over were people of Jewish descent. So I ask you, what do you say to those people? Do you feel like
you say easy? That's the easiest thing in the world, right? Like Because I can make those same arguments, like justifying racism, like super easily. Like Chris Rock even joked about, where was the skit that he had where he's like, when I go to the money machine, people always saying that like the media is the one that's like blaming black people for crime. The media is what makes it sound like black people commit crime. When I'm at the ATM machine tonight, I'm not looking over my shoulder for the media. I'm looking over my shoulder for ninjas. Like he had a whole skit of that. Like I think that like you can make any argument to be racist against a group of people they treat you bad enough. The whole red pill incel community, the idea of like treating women like shit. If you see enough like Miami girls or whatever, like you can easily like breed an incel. Like I can understand that there are probably people, black people even, that have bad experiences with Jewish people. And it even goes deeper than like music records and shit. When you talk about like redlining and you talk about like block breaking and all those tactics and shit, a lot of those were Jewish real estate people too. So yeah, I mean, I know that there's like a lot of different areas that Jewish people were functioning in that could have made groups of people or black people specifically feel fucked over. But that's not a reason to be like, oh, well, now I'm anti-Semitic, because you could justify like so much crazy shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a fine line to cut. I'm not mad at what you're saying. I'm just saying that the grievance that they have in regards to the overrepresentation of Jewish people in positions that are constantly fucking them over, and I'm not just talking about mine, I'm talking about a lot, is understandable. That's all I'm saying. But I do agree with you that coming after them and then saying anti-Semitic statements or like, we got to get rid of these people, that's wild. I'm not talking about that.
I'm trying to think a little bit about TLC, because you use that as an example. And I was trying to imagine how much, if you gave just the average musician and so first off, I think that capitalism and competition should always work. So that deal that you're saying that they got was bad, but apparently it was the best deal they could get at the time, because if there was a better one, I assume they would have taken a better deal. So that was the best deal that TLC
a deal being the best doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitative. That's akin to saying,
let me finish. Okay, hold on. So that was the best that they could get. Okay? And essentially it sounds like what they got is, hey, you're gonna get nothing, but you'll be known by everyone in the world. And you know what? I think there's a lot of people that unironically probably would take that deal.
Okay, but that's just the fact that it's exploitative.
It was the best deal they could get, and they chose to do it. It's not exploitative. If they so there's certainly exploitative things. They literally wanted to be known by probably fucking 80%. Well, not.
Is it exploitative if it's? I think you can say it's. I think you could still have it. Oh no, because the problem with it being exploitative. Yeah, no, I think it still could be based on like tricky ways based on whether or not the individuals who are participating in these contracts knew what was happening going into it, and the wording and the details of why or what would happen to them after they signed these contracts, or what would be there I think Dan's point only stands if you have knowledge of exactly what will happen to you after that moment. I agree with Dan that there's a lot of people that take that. I think there would be a tremendous amount of people that would take that right now. Fame in exchange for like most of somebody's fortune, or pretty much all of their fortune, but they can be famous. I think a lot of people would take that. Fuck, I would take that. I don't need money. The reason why I would want the fame would be so that way I can, broadcast specific conversations in specific ways, so that way I could talk to specific people that I wouldn't otherwise be able to talk to about specific topics. I don't really have a huge drive for the cash or anything, but of course it's a bonus. But I think I would take that deal. 100% I'd take that deal. So I think Dan is right on that, but that assumes that they know that deal is on the table, that's what they're getting themselves into. And in a lot of cases, I don't think it is. I think in a lot of cases, these individuals think that what they're getting themselves into is a deal in which they get a lot of money. If they're big, if they start popping off, they're going to be, multi-millionaires with some of these things and not get, extra. I don't even know how ripped off these people are getting. I really don't. I don't understand this at all. I don't understand. Are they taking like 90%? Are they taking like 100%? Like, what's the cut?
80% of the people in the United States, at least, knows, or at least that are my age or older, know who TLC is. They're like, this is worth it to me, and this is the best deal that anyone is offering to me. There is no other deal. I want to be a fucking celebrity. I want to be on TV. I want to be known, and I want to be able to have a Wikipedia page or whatever the fuck it is. And this is the only way I can do it.
You want to talk about them not having proper representation and knowing the deal is bad is the problem? Right. But I can agree with Abba that that's exploitative if they don't know that the deal is bad in that way, right?
You know, this is the best deal that there is. There is no other deal for me. It's either this,
usually been
or I
up
go
this
back
early,
and I'm
literal.
trying to do gigs at the local bar, making $20, being a nobody. Fuck it.
Well, like, it kind of reminds me of the early day of
years.
esports. Like, team, like, player salaries were like $250, $300 a month. And if you got a salary, that's like the coolest shit in the world. You're like, oh my God, $300 a month. Even though I guess maybe it's exploitative, but like back then they're just like, the industry was like so risky, like nobody actually knew, you know, if it was ever going to be profitable or anything. So.
Well, I just don't buy into this just purely on capitalism. Like, if it was exploitative, there should have been some other guy that was like, hey, listen, fuck that. You know, I'll give you 20%. Those, you know, those, as you're saying, those Jews want to give you nothing and just make you famous. Fuck it, I'll give you 20%. But there wasn't. So there was no group of like altruistic, you know, white guys or black guys or Muslim guys or anyone who wanted to give TLC a chance.
Okay, well, first off, there are no black people.
Oh, I think I see what he means. It's not like you can blame the Jews for this because there wasn't any group of people that were trying to be altruistic about this. Is that Dan's point? That there was no group of people that were willing to give these artists a chance at a better rate. And so the idea that like the Jewish people are bad for giving them the deals in the first place, it's like, okay, if we assume that the Jewish people were the only people giving them deals and then they all went away, like without that measure of like transactional benefit, then nobody would have been giving you deals. Is that supposed to be the idea? TLC made $50K on an album that made 75 million. I don't even know what TLC is. I'm assuming it's like a record label. I think the biggest thing missing from this discussion was that they never bring up the supply and demand of budding artists. It would be against the record company's interest to not try and get another artist for cheaper. Capitalism is not altruism is Dan's argument. I see.
To be able to do that. So the idea that there's going to be people from different groups who would have done it.
TLC is an all-female pop group. I don't know what that is. I know of the like TV thing. Is that what we're talking about? The TV company? Like my, what is it? 100, my 1,000 pound life or whatever? No music? I don't know what that shit is, nigga.
Is not.
There wasn't
pointless.
any. There was no black people in the music business in the 90s.
No. Listen, if you look at all the casting, none of them.
Well, because early on in the 90s, it was all capital from like big companies. It wasn't like, well, fuck, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of these companies were invested in by like really heavy people. It's not like Capitol Records was like a small startup in a kid's basement, right? Or was it? Am I totally wrong on that? Like Sony Records and all these people. This is like massive things run by Jewish and white people.
I think I remember one group. What were they called? Was it Motown? I don't even know who owned Motown at the time. So I
let me ask you this: why is it
I literally Googled TLC and it brought up the TV channel.
Jewish people undercutting them and like, fuck it, let's get TLC. I'll give them 2%.
Because they're all making their. Hold on 1 second.
So they're all together. Like I'm like one Jewish group's like, oh dude, fucking yeah. Did you hear that like Moishi over there got TLC and gave him nothing? Way to go, Moishi. Fuck that. They're gonna be thinking like, man, I should have fucking offered them 5%. I could have had it. This is so stupid.
Whoa, Dan, you're getting.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. It's cool. I'm not mad at it.
No, because it goes back to the idea that all Jews work together. Like, dude, I've told this to Steven 100 times and he said it. Whenever I'm doing something, like, business-wise, and there's, like, another Jewish guy involved, I'm like, ah, motherfucker, because you're getting fucking railed over the fucking coals.
I don't think he's not talking about...
Dad, chill, bro. Chill, dude. Yo, dial it back.
Jews coordinating. He's just saying that like this is in general like Jewish people were in these positions, and that's why.
But I don't understand why would there not be anyone that would come and compete for TLC then, right? Why was there no one else who's like, let me do the same deal with 20%
Okay,
less?
all right. So this is like the whole platforming discussion. It's like, well, platforming such a big, deplatforming such a big issue. Why don't you just go to another social media company who can offer it? You're acting like it's so easy to, one, start a record label, B, have the distribution access to be able to do so, and B, compete with all these large companies at the time that didn't exist. If you wanted to actually gain access to a lot of these spaces, you had to be super well connected, which is why I'm saying back then is completely different than today. Back then, you only had 3 or 4 options in order to be able to make a come up. And now you're talking to me about like, well, why was you're acting like there's a plethora of alternatives. That wasn't the case. Today, that's why you're seeing more than ever a bunch of independent artists, people who are not going through record labels, people who are advocating to never do so. They're not saying that because, they have a hard-on for record labels. They're saying because there's been so much exploitation over the years, you can now circumvent it by taking care of yourself. So for you to sit there and be like, well, why wasn't an alternative? You're acting like there was many alternatives. This is the whole idea of like, this kind of like a cringe capitalistic idea, which is like, well, the free market will sort itself out. That's not true. There's plenty of ways in which companies collude. Here's another example.
To be clear, there's half as many.
I'll just finish. I live in Canada. There's only 3 airlines, okay? No other airlines can come up due to lobbying and different things like that. And all these airlines really work together to keep the prices around the same level. The reason being is, 1, they know there's no competition that come in place because nobody has the connections. And 2, they're going to constantly make a profit because if anybody wants to fly domestically, they have to go through these people. That's why flying in Canada is literally untenable. So when you say there, you're like, well, why did they just find an alternative? There wasn't any.
Okay, so to be clear, there's 3 music labels now, for all intents and purposes. And I just looked, and in the 80s, there was about 60. So it seems to me like it would be easier. Now, you really don't have any options. Because if you get rejected by Sony...
It's easier to self-publish now. That's a big difference in...
Sure, self-publishing. But back then, you had, a lot of options. Your local dipshit out of New York could get you on the radio, and you could be big. Now, there's 3 options. So it goes against what you're saying when you're like, oh, back then, it was way harder. Now you have options. You have 3 options now.
Okay. You need to actually look into the record labels. How many of them were actually just subsidiaries of smaller ones?
I was gonna say, what about the subsidiary thing? Because I feel like there could be a bunch of companies, that were subsidiaries.
Something could be a record label and literally just be under another record label. So you actually have to look into all that stuff, what you're saying. Secondly, when you're saying there's less options today, I don't know what rock you live under, but there's literally no musician who would ever tell you there's less options today. In fact, people coming through SoundCloud, people starting their own record labels, there's far more options today. So what you just said is patently untrue.
I mean, it sounds to me like you're saying the internet exists so that you can do it, which I don't disagree with. I think the internet is great for self-publishing, but you were saying that the label terms that they were getting were exploitative.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I'm saying that was the best that they could get, and you're saying, well, there was almost no options, and I'm telling you there was more options.
You're saying it's the best that they can get doesn't change the fact that it's exploitative.
Because I think there's a definition of exploitative. Might be. I'm trying to think here. So
like here's Dan. So in the United States, I could probably hire somebody to do work for me for like $4 an hour if they were an illegal immigrant, and that's the best.
I mean, a good example is Hassan's editor, right? Hassan was not paying his editor because he could have an editor and not pay him, but that completely flies against his principles as somebody who, by his own terminology, it is unethical to have somebody provide labor that is not adequately compensated for. So, I mean, you can get somebody to do something that isn't.
Would that be exploitative? Or?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But this isn't like. I feel like for a lot of these artists, they were willing to make that change. I mean, I'll ask you today, Stephen. Like, if I could do something, and I could say, hey, the next 5 years you're going to be unpaid, but everyone in America is going to know who you are, and when you're on tour and you're doing these speaking tours, you're going to make nothing. Would you do that?
Me, I probably wouldn't know.
So you wouldn't do that if everyone in America would know who you are. That's fine to answer, but I think a lot of people would do that.
Oh yeah,
I would do that 100%. Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, well you're asking me who's made a lot of money in this industry, blah blah blah, right? Like, but yeah, for other people that might be worth the risk. Sure, it's the phase concept.
And I think that's a very fair. I think that's a very fair thing. I don't know if that's exploitative, like you're saying, Abba. That's the problem.
It is. So
I literally do not think that.
Hold on. I'll give you another counterexample. So take college football for example. That was exploitative. You couldn't get a better deal.
Let's just focus on this.
No, because
I don't want to argue against football or other things because I barely know anything about this, and now you're telling me to football. Why know even less? Let's just stick with what we're talking about.
The reason why I bring about college football is there's literally legislative change that had to happen because the fact that these people were exploitive. Now I'm not going to go deep into it. I don't want to. What my point being is to counter yours is you're saying it's the best that they could get, so it's not exploitive. That was the case for college football for a long time, but it turned out it was still exploitative because of the rules in place, and everyone was gatekept from making any money. I'm not talking about they couldn't make just salaries. They couldn't even sell their own name or likeness.
Okay.
So that was seen as exploitative. It was the best that they could get, and so that's why I'm saying it counters your idea.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the deal you're saying where they make no money, but they become a superhero, or not a superhero, but like
a
super celebrity, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't think that's a bad deal. I think that if you're gonna go,
so. This is the real core argument that I want to see them disagree with, because I completely agree with Dan 100%. I think the deal that you get $0.00 for your artwork, but in exchange, or your creations, but in exchange, a large multi-million-dollar company will do everything in their power to juice you and make sure that you get every bit of fucking information, resources, and everything at your disposal to make you successful. I would take that deal in a heartbeat. And the idea also isn't. Also, I want it noted that isn't even the deal. You are allowed to make money yourself. It's not like they literally, you are a slave and they own you, okay? It is that through your music, through your primary mode of why you are known, and a lot of other, likeness stuff and stuff like that, you aren't able to make money. It's not that you literally cannot make money at all. You have $0.00 forever. It's that your primary thing that you're known for, you're not making any cash from. I think a lot of people would take that deal. I would be one of them.
And you're going to invest millions of dollars in my name, hundreds of millions of dollars in my name. That's a good deal. I don't think it's exploitative. I think that's a great deal that they fucking got, because there was probably a lot of people that they tried this to. They could have spent millions of dollars and had it go fucking nowhere. So if they become literally famous off of this, I think that is something. You know what? People are saying, oh, slave to be famous. I think that's certainly fair. I wouldn't do it. But you know what? A lot of people would do that today. A lot of artists would be like, I sell my kids into slavery to do that, to go out and do that today. Not only do you get me, you get my children, because they believe that they have a message to tell to people out there. And you're like, oh, that's exploitative. You can't do it. They would give everything.
That's me. He's literally talking about me. I don't have any kids to sell to slavery, unfortunately for Dan, but I agree with his point.
To do that. Like, that's the whole thing. It costs a tremendous amount of money to make TLC that wasn't free. That was by no definition free.
So why would a new airline emerge if it couldn't become profitable? It's very, very easy to run an airline. It's just not profitable. I don't think it's true. It's very easy to run an airline.
In the terms that they got, essentially was like, hey, listen, we're going to make you a superhero. We're going to get probably everything you're going to make, okay? But,
Relly will sell all of us? No, I wouldn't sell, like, my relationships with the people that I know, but I would absolutely not. Dude, money doesn't matter very much to me. I'm not somebody that wants very much out of money. I just want like a stable income. And these rappers, as much as they were saying they were getting absolutely fucked, and these deals were making like fucking minimum wage, at least obviously they were making more. A lot of them were making a lot more. They were just getting absolutely fucked on some of these deals, making very little relative to how much they were producing. I need like fucking 30 grand a year. If I have 30 grand a year, I do not care about being paid any more money. Anymore. I will absolutely take fame or reputation so that way I can have, I would love to be able to have like be very renowned the world over, so I could have fucking conversations with like fucking Jordan Peterson and shit. That'd be so cool. I could go on Daily Wire, have a talk with Ben Shapiro or something, prep for that. Man, that would be fucking awesome. To be able to do shit like that, to be able to debate whoever I want, to be able to have conversations with whoever I want. Fucking Tucker Carlson. I wanted. That would be amazing to be able to experience that. To actually be able to have a conversation with somebody that could make legitimate change on a very large scale, that would be amazing. That would be very, very nice. To have been somebody that could have possibly debated Andrew Tate, that'd be really cool.
10 years when all this contract's up, you do your thing, everyone's going to know who you are. Okay? I don't necessarily think that is exploitative in that case. Sure, it would be nice if they got 20% and everyone was aligned on that front. Okay. But like you're not looking at how much money everyone else spent on that. And they tried to spend it on other people to have it go somewhere. And now if TLC isn't doing anything with that today, why is that? Why is no one giving TLC a second chance right now?
Because sometimes they have ownership over their name and the likeness. They have ownership over all the masters, so they can't do any features.
I'm not talking about stuff they did in the past. I'm talking about today.
Well, okay, but so this is where you're not understanding. Sometimes people's lives, in terms of how much time they actually spend on these platforms or become famous, is a limited shelf life. Maybe you only have 2-3 albums in you. Well, guess what? The record label signs you to a deal where they're going to maximize any opportunity for profit and mitigate any risk possible. Meaning, like, they're going to make sure that your 3 first albums, they're signing you to the shittiest deal. And so your best work, which is most people make their best work in their first 3 albums, they've got it. Okay, it's very rare that you get music artists that are going to make 10 albums that are top notch and making money. That's you would be talking about less than 1%.
Speaking of which, it's been a while since I've done a shout out, a call to action. if you like the streams, if you like the ad-free viewing, and if you want to support the growth of this channel and help encourage me to continue streaming on YouTube, like the video, okay? Liking the video is a very easy way. It's completely free to you to be able to get me to have algo-boosted results. Like have individuals come in that are not native to the stream. I've looked at, I'm not sure if it's TOS or whatever, to share like information about like impressions and stuff like that. So I'll just make a general statement that things are looking good in regards to how liking correlates to impressions, right? Things are looking good. So if that's something that you would like, right? If that's something that you want is for me to continue streaming on YouTube because of the possibility for growth and shit like that, then please like the video. I appreciate it, okay? And thank you to the 26 people that liked the video since that call to action.
Of the artists. So the reason why I say it's exploitative is an example that you gave.
It's not on YouTube, I think. I don't think it is either, because I've seen people just straight up rip their analytics pages on YouTube and show them. Like I've seen Ludwig do it. I saw Graham Stephan do it.
Well, 10 years, we invested in you. Now you can go off and do amazing things. What artist spends 10 years doing the best work that they make and then goes on to make even better stuff? Very, very few. So now they've given them their best.
Wait, real quick, is it fewer than the type of people that make it go nowhere, that gets millions invested in them every time? Because I think that number's even bigger. But no one's like crying a tear for the millions of dollars that have spent on fucking nobodies that never go anywhere, but I still drop the money and trying to make them be somewhere. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, that's the whole thing I'm trying to say here is like, for every person that's like, oh, well, you didn't make it 10 years into the future to go and do something else, there's 1,000 people that this Jewish guy spent $1 million on to try and become the next fucking, you know, super famous celebrity, artist, whatever, that didn't make it. Okay, and they didn't. But you're like, oh, well, yeah, that sucks. So
okay, so let me understand this system that you have in your head. The system that you have in your head is, one, they're taking tremendous amount of risks and potentially bankrupting themselves by investing in artists who are going to go nowhere. So what they need to do is exploit the artists who do take them somewhere, make sure those people come out with little to no money, and then that way the record label always wins. So the system.
Legitimately, it sounds bad. My response would be yes. Optically, it sounds bad and shit, but yeah, yep. Like that's, otherwise nobody gets a chance. It's like venture capitalism. It's identical. Yeah. Like, otherwise nobody gets a chance. Nobody gets a shot in that system at all unless you fuck over some of the people that are really making it. And I don't even think that's fucking, I agree with Dan. I don't even really think that's fucking them over. I think what makes it exploitative is that often the people who are signing these deals think that they really got a shot at doing it. And they think if they get that shot that they're not going to get nearly as fucked over as they actually are, even in the print, let alone in material reality, right? So I think it is that is the exploitative part. The fact that they don't know what they're getting themselves into. But I agree with Dan that if you know what you're getting yourself into, that alternative is way better than, if I could give you the alternative that you'd be traveling the world instead of, let's keep it the black community and specifically the impoverished black community that was talking specifically about this. If I told you you had the opportunity to travel the world, be one of the most famous people in the world, be the most desired, one of the most desired men on earth right now, but all you have to do in exchange for that is just not make money on this product, but you still get the champagne, you still get the fucking wine, the hotel rooms, the women, you get all of that, the fucking magazine cover shoots, the deals. If I told you can get all of that, but you just don't have to make money on your primary product, how many people do you think would be lining up at that door? Fucking everyone. I think the issue with a lot of these rappers and shit is they feel cheated because they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Not because the deal is genuinely bad, but because they didn't know what they were getting themselves into in the first place. They thought that reality was going to be one thing. They had expectations and they were fucking destroyed because they had an expectation that was wildly incongruent with the reality because they were honestly misled. They were misled by the wording or whatever. I don't know what specifically did them in, but yeah, I think that was the thing.
The system that you're describing is one
record label does not always win.
You can turn money into fame pretty well. You can turn money into fame or fame into money so well And this even assumes they're taking 100% of the, and often they weren't. To my knowledge, they were just taking very large specific amounts. I don't know exactly how much, but in most scenarios, I think the problem was that these rappers would be making millions and millions of dollars for these corporations, like, I don't know, 5 million, and then they would only bring home like 100K or something like that, and they would feel absolutely cheated. Because, yeah, that's fair to feel cheated, especially if your expectation was, like, yeah, after I make $5 million for you, I might take home like 3 million, and you take home 2 million, right? With that being the expectation or whatever, I don't even know what the reality was. I might have just explained what the reality was. I have no idea. I am assuming the worst. And even in the worst case scenario, I still think Dan is right. I still think Dan is correct on the opinion that people would take damn near no money, especially the individuals inside of these circumstances that have never known what it's like to be in a fucking private jet, probably have never flown in a plane before, right? And to travel the world, be one of the most desirable men on earth, not only to women, but also to men and people in general. Like, I don't know. That's absolutely insane to me that you would just go, nah, I don't want to do that. And instead, I would rather just risk it doing what I'm doing right now. That's weird.
Exactly, that's my point. That's why it's exploited.
Wait, but hold on, wait, you're describing it, but what you just said that.
What if it's all from all products and you don't own your name or likeness anymore? Well, even if you don't own your name or likeness anymore, you could still make money. It's very, very difficult to be able to do so, but you could still make money. There is ways to be able to make money outside of even if somebody owns things. Like, you are not completely a slave inside of these contracts where every single revenue source is owned by these other individuals. That's not something that can or has happened to my knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel very confident when I've looked into similarly predatory situations where people own the name, likeness of another individual, that it isn't like slavery. It's not just straight up slavery. They are methods to be able to do it. However, it's very little money and it's not super consistent and shit like that. But even if it was complete and total slavery, I would still think that that is a decent deal for a lot of people. Because either way, you're still getting put up in hotels. You're still getting put up inside of going to fucking arenas, jamming the fuck out. You're still able to, I don't know, fuck all the hottest women you've always wanted to fuck, driving the most expensive cars with the most expensive jewelry and shit like that. You're doing whatever the fuck you want. Now, I don't want to do that, but there's a lot of people who do.
Exact thing is true, and that's how it should be. That the winners are typically the ones that subsidize the losers in any capital environment like that, and that the record label always has to win, because if the record label is losing, the record label is not going to exist to make those investments in the first place. So let's say that you're going to invest in 100 pieces of talent, and you've got, you've got investors and you're trying to make money, right? Well, for 100 different talent, one might go big, and that one guy that goes big is going to feel fucked. But like the 99 other people got a shot that they wouldn't have gotten anyways. So of course the record label is going to be, taking a little bit more from that one guy that made it big to like subsidize the 99 that didn't make it and still be able to turn a profit, right?
Okay, so I'm not disagreeing with you guys that the strategy that they might employ might make sense in regards to how you're describing it. What I'm trying to relate to you is that to all the artists who do end up going through these deals and come out poor, they're the ones who are financing these companies whilst making $0 or making little to nothing or coming out extremely poor. So my description to you is, even though the system you say I agree with, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitative for the artists who do make it, because they come out poor and they're the ones subsidizing and financing everything else. I don't think that's a good system, and that's why today's system operates a lot better, and why you have a lot of artists who are actually making money. So
I don't even necessarily think that if you're famous, you should be rich. I think the amount of
thank you
you have should from being famous. Like
what?
Okay, how do I put this?
I agree.
A better way. Just the fact
I think Dan is right. I think Dan is right.
Saying that like so many people are getting fucked over. I think there's a lot of celebrities that have a lot of money. They're traditionally very wealthy. If you get to TLC's level, I would say most people like TLC are rich, or certainly upper class and not poor.
What era?
Celebrities.
Because I could
the power.
The people that grew up in that era and before, vast majority of them did not become rich.
Are we talking about just musicians or what?
Yes, we're going to stick to just music because the other industries are big.
I would say people who tried to become a musician, I would say that more than half are rich. Okay, I'm not even saying doing well. I'm saying more than half are rich of people to TLC's class or better. So I would say I would put a certain amount of this.
This is complete nonsense to me. I have no idea what he's saying. I literally don't know what he's saying. I'm not saying like nonsense is he's wrong. I just don't even understand what he's saying.
See themselves if they didn't get to that level of, I don't know what is different in that case.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you just said.
What is different about the TLC case versus other musicians that are rich that had, I assume, the same deal? Because it sounds like everyone got the same deal, right?
Not everyone got the same deal, but there were very similar ones. So you have to imagine it'll be in the fine print of the contract itself. It depends on what cut they take from the live shows versus the other ones. Not everyone got the exact same deal, but they're definitely comparable. It could also be like TLC made some poor investments from what little they did make. It could be a bunch of different things. But there is no doubt that when you look at what percentage they got out of the revenue they generated for that company, that percentage would be seen as exploitative by vast majority of artists today and going forward, just because they understand, like, oh, there's no way they should be charging this.
I think the problem with ABBA's perspective on this is he's viewing it from that individual's perspective, and I think that this is not a correct way to view it from this. But even if you do, honestly, I feel like I agree. It's not really that exploitative. It is exploitative only because there is an expectation that was trying to be upheld that was incongruent with reality. That is the only reason why it's exploitative. I reject fully the idea that you becoming famous, and if you are very famous, you receive no money from that fame, even zero, absolute zero, no money whatsoever. I reject the idea that that is exploitative. I do not believe that's exploitative. I think the exploitation would come from the idea that you didn't know that that was happening. I think that's the exploitation. And if he wants to stick to that, then I agree. So, but then ABBA would have to shift gears and say that these deals weren't exploitative unless he's talking about the details of the deals being intentionally misleading, being something that would be whatever. So the deals are not exploitative, but how the perceptions of the deals cause that incongruence that then makes that exploitative. I think that's the only argument you have.
There's no way they should have invested this much. There's no way these numbers make sense. There's no way they didn't pump up the numbers. You know, there's a difference between a contractor charging an insurance company money versus a contractor in charging an individual extra money for labor that they didn't actually do or for things that they didn't actually offer because they wanted to run up the cost and maximize their profits. The ways in which things are exploitative is the hidden cost that you associate with it, the kind of services that you claim you offer but you don't. So I'll give you an example. There's plenty of managers who take money from artists today, okay, who said, I'll manage you, I'll do other stuff. I mean, Steven can speak to this. There's MCMs that exist on YouTube right now who will take a cut of your check every single month and offer you zero in return. And you can't even get out of the contract because once you've signed to it, you are legally locked in. So you have to take them to court. This is happening on YouTube right now. So there's ways in which people literally steal your money while offering you nothing in return. So if you're asking me what was the difference between their contract, I couldn't tell you without looking at the fine print. I'd be speaking out of turn and out of ass. What I am saying is, over the course of the years, you've seen the progress that artists have made and how they've been able to fight for their rights in a lot of these industries. And within the music industry in particular, this issue of exploitation has been very apparent and well documented.
Yeah, what was different about TLC's deal than others, and why didn't
I just told you.
Okay, so what I'm trying to ask you is, why doesn't everyone get TLC's deal then? Why didn't it sounds like it's fucking way better for the labels? Why didn't every band or musician get the TLC deal?
I could tell you.
Could it be that no one wanted to fuck with TLC? That they, you know, just they only had one hit in them and most people knew it, and it was going to be a huge gamble and had to put a ton of money into it, or what?
I'm confused. What are you even trying to get at right now? You're trying to say like
these record labels giving the singers and rappers content to write future products by exploiting them seems fair to me.
I'm trying to say there was no competition. No one. It sounded like there wasn't competition.
Oh, you're right. These record labels lock these people in early into deals that they know are really bad for them, and then if they take off, it's great for them, and if they don't, well, you know, they mitigate most of their losses. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, so it sounded like no one wanted to f with TLC.
It's not that no one wanted. It's not no one wanted to.
Give me 1 sec. I want to grab some water quick fast. This is interesting though. But hey, if you're enjoying the content and you want me to continue streaming on YouTube, hit the like button, please. Right, it helps me a lot. It helps boost the algo, and what helps boost the algo keeps me on the site. I want to hear more about this, but I think I'm agreeing with Dan. I agree with ABBA on the capacity of the exploitation of the manipulation of the contracts and stuff, but other than that, I think Dan has taken the W so far from my perspective. Okay.
First off, these are young people, like 18 at best. So you're asking me about their financial literacy. I couldn't tell you what it was. These are people who have aspirations but no financial knowledge whatsoever, approached by big record labels to sign a deal that they don't understand, nor will they. Nor will they understand the repercussions of until 10, 20 years later.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying there, but I can also say that they probably understood, we'll make you famous and we'll drop millions of dollars.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitative. If you're approaching an 18, 19-year-old who has no financial literacy and signing them to a deal that you know is not in their favor whatsoever under the guise that you're going to help them, then you're still predatory.
I think the deal is in their favor in some capacities. I do. They get access to equipment or whatever. I think what Abba is doing when he says not in their favor whatsoever, I think what he means is it's not in their favor if they make it. And even still, I don't really agree with that. I think it's in their favor if they make it. It's just not as in their favor as I would like it to be. As I think anyone would like it to be. I think people would want better deals for individuals, and I think that's fair. But is it a good deal? My opinion, yes.
I'm trying to think. Like, it's not like we're getting you to work for $4 an hour. I assume that they definitively, absolutely, were making above minimum wage doing this. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here's where we get into the meat and potatoes. When we're talking about them literally getting no money, how much do we mean by no money? I'm willing to bet, personally, that most of them were millionaires. I'm willing to bet this is the exact same thing as a lot of NFL players going broke after the NFL. You get paid a fucking grip of money, but the problem is you think it's going to last forever, and it's probably not worth the amount of work that you put in. But I'm willing to bet that that's what happened. I'm willing to bet that most of these rappers that have complained about it are probably millionaires. But let's see it.
In my mind.
Okay. They're making minimum wage.
So you're saying that they should be a millionaire.
I'm saying that if you offer something of value to a company and you enrich them to some degree, there's a part of the proceeds that should actually return to you. And if that's considered crazy or stupid by investment terms, I don't know what to tell you. When someone works for me and they provide value to what I do, I pay them in return because it's what they deserve. It is the ethical thing to do. Now, if you tell me that's a dumb capitalistic mindset, I don't really care. It doesn't change the fact that me asking someone to work because they got starry eyes for me and they're doing pretty much labor for free, that's exploitative. Even if it's the best deal that they could get, it doesn't change the fact that ethically speaking, what I'm doing is incredibly wrong. And if you were to sit here and try to make the argument otherwise, I would look at you as an immoral person.
Yeah, I just disagree. I don't think that you singing is worth more than a guy that's carrying cinder blocks all day. And if I'm going to make you famous on top of it, I'll offer you a deal. Like, okay, hold on, let me finish. If you're like, hey, I want to be, let me finish. You come to me and you're like, hey, I want to be famous. I'm a singer. I'm like, okay, I mean, you're pretty good. But there's a lot of people that are pretty good. And you're like, okay, yeah, but I'll do anything to be famous. Like, listen, I'll fucking, man, it's a huge risk. I can spend literally $20 million on you and you might just go nowhere. What
you said is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Are you telling me that? Hold on. Are you telling me a singer is comparable? Are you telling me a singer, in terms of what it generates in terms of revenue for whatever company it works for, is comparable to somebody who lays cinder blocks?
On the aggregate, with the 1,000 other singers that go nowhere, it could be that way. Construction industry is pretty big. Yeah, I would say so. Do you know how much money is spent on all of the people that go nowhere in the music industry? I'm guessing it's not nothing. I'm guessing that there's a lot of money that's going into people that...
I think it's an L from Dan. I don't think this is true. I don't think this is an argument he should be taking. I think musicians are a pretty big money sink, like a pretty damn big money sink, especially back then. Nowadays, probably not as much because there's a lot of people that are just failed SoundCloud rappers. But I think there's a lot of people who are money sinks, but they are like money sinks who are probably still more valuable, like capitalistic, like enterprise-wise, than probably the average bricklayer. But I don't know. I mean, I guess couldn't we compare the music industry in comparison to the... No, because that wouldn't be an accurate way to judge it. Yeah, I think the music industry is probably... the construction? Fuck, actually. You know what? Now that I'm second guessing that.
Go fucking nowhere. A lot of musicians go nowhere. Most go nowhere, okay? And you're only looking at the successes and you're like, oh, dude, TLC, they made $10 million. They should get 80% of that. And it's like, dude, no, they shouldn't get 80% of that. They should get whatever they signed on to this thing because they wanted to be a fucking superhero, not a superhero.
Okay. So by your logic, if I want to sign on, let's say there's a bunch of immigrants who come to this country. I want to sign them on to deals where they only make $1 a day. Okay.
Nope. Didn't say that because they make above the legal wage. That would be exploitative. That would be exploitative.
Stop. There's no labor laws. Okay. Forget all the labor laws. Forget the rules. Okay. I'm asking you just on a moral standpoint. Okay. If you got a system in place where you bring in 300 immigrants, you sign them for $1 a day. That's the deal that they got. It's the best deal that they could get, and that's what I value their labor as, and that's what they're going to get. Should that be okay?
I feel like you're doing such a huge straw man. So you're telling me no one's going to compete to offer these workers. They're going to do a great job more than $1 a day. There's not going to be my neighbor who's going to be like, oh, I'll give you $2. That's fucking stupid. It's
why would they? Why would they? These people are desperate.
I feel like Dan is a bit capitalist pilled here. I agree with Abba that, yeah, there's a point where like capital 100% free, you know, the market, especially since Abba prefaced it as free market because he said none of this was illegal. So I 100% believe the free market will exploit people if it allows. I don't believe free market friction or whatever will cause like wages to rise to an appropriate level for everyone. No, I think that there does need to be some push by the government to be able to do so. But I don't believe that just because that's true, that means that the deals that these people can get, right? The fame in exchange for no money isn't a bad deal. I wouldn't say that the fame for no money is a good deal because it's the only deal they could get. I would just say it's a good deal, period. Fame, a genuine 100% chance at fame in exchange for all of your proceedings. And again, I don't even think it was all. It was probably not even close to all. Is probably, I can almost guarantee it was similar to the NFL situation where there was like people who were making a fuckload of money while they were doing this. The problem was they thought that this money was going to last forever. They thought they would get more money than they did, and they ended up blowing their money way too fast. Right? I'm willing to bet 99% chance that was the reality. I'm willing to bet most of these people made at least, who were like really big at the time, your Ice Cubes or whatever, were millionaires. I'm willing to bet that they were millionaires inside of, or if they had saved all of their money. They could have been millionaires. Maybe, well, no, actually, no, that's not true because this is way earlier, where like $1 million in the 70s was like, I don't remember what $1 million in the 70s would be. It's not like it would be like 10 million or anything. It's obviously not like that, but probably like several 100,000. How do you feel about unpaid internships? I think they can be fine. I think as long as you don't treat them as full-fledged employees or whatever, and you do what I consider to be the intention of unpaid internships, which is to give them valuable education on how to perform a job in exchange for free labor, is valid.
Workers $1 a day, I will 100% come and beat your price. I'll give it $2 a day. So you're just wrong.
They're desperate for work.
Yes, I will beat your price. I will beat your price.
Okay, so they're desperate for work,
and someone will beat my price.
You're arguing like the free place of like in terms of income and what it is. This is like a hyper capitalistic thing where it's like somebody's always going to offer you a better price, and so you're always going to get something that's ethical. That's not.
That is actually capitalism, and it's still.
No, Dan, you were doing so well, my nigga. No, you slipped from grace. God damn, bruh. This is literally an ANCAP take because Abba controlled for anarcho-capitalism. He said no laws, no regulations. They will not. This has been shown to not be the case. That when there is no laws around these things, does capitalism generally give better wages? Yeah, but it absolutely needs a push. It needs a push in the right direction.
Still was that way in the 90s and the 80s. Yes, there still was capitalism. In fact, in certain cases, as I said before, it's worse now. It's worse now because there's more monopolistic behavior that did not exist earlier on as companies became worth $1 trillion. So yeah, it is like absolutely monopolies are bad. I would say things could be even worse for an artist today when basically you could have 3 companies colluding and you could get fucked today. Absolutely, because it's like, where am I going to go? I can go to Sony or I can go to Warner, or I don't even know what the ones are. I just know there's 3, and that's it. Those are my options. But back then you did have, uncoordinated more options. And I'm just saying to you that, like, when you're saying, is it exploitative to offer people $1 a day to work? Yes, it is. Especially if they expect it, because that's not enough to live on. It's not enough to buy food on. It's just, a shit show. But what I'm telling you is that if there's a free market,
is that why it's exploitative? It's only because they can't have enough to live on. That's the only reason why.
I would say it's exploitative we have defined minimum wage as a concept here, and I would say in many cases that if you want to offer me some money to do some work, that in general, us as a society has decided that no matter what that work is, you got to at least start at $15 an hour, or whatever minimum wage. I don't even know what it is right now. It's got to be $15 an hour. That's the minimum, okay? Because that's what, just in general, you need to pay for housing, to pay for food, to do your thing. Now, if you're going to go and try to break into an industry, you might make less money for a while. A good example of this is being an intern, okay? Sure. If you want to go and work in a legal office or something along those lines, you might say, pay me $15 an hour, because I have, in 6 years, I could become, not necessarily, I might be shit at my job. I might not be able to get hired. I might, a million other things here, but I could become a doctor. I could become an attorney, okay? There's a lot of huge wins, and if you make it, I've done 10 years at $15 an hour and ate shit and all this stuff, and now I'm a fucking Giga Chad doctor fucker. That is the goal that you get. But there's a lot of fucking souls along the way that didn't make it, and there's a lot of money that went into your training and a lot of other shit, and that's why you're...
Wait, Relly, do you have an example of how capitalism didn't offer a competitive price? Well, literally, the reason why we have a federal minimum wage. That would be my thing. So, like, outlawing... vertical monopolies, like, at least I learned in school, I'm not sure how much of a meme it is, things like Carnegie Steel, I think it was vertical monopoly they had, or maybe it was a horizontal monopoly. We outlawed that shit, trust busting, stuff like that. All of that was done because free market unfettered capitalism doesn't work. It does not work. It doesn't meet the demands of the people. You get blatant collaboration, collusion of large businesses working together in order to not provide adequate service or adequate pay to workers or customers. That it just does not work. It's a reason I'm a social democrat, is that instead of an ANCAP, this shit does not work. It doesn't.
Getting $15 an hour is all the people that fucking dropped out. And it's the same shit in startup investing, which is why
outlawing child labor, another great example. The reason why we have any labor protections at all is because free market capitalism doesn't work. If it did, we would need absolutely none of them. If free market capitalism, unregulated capitalism, as Abba has proposed inside of his hypothetical, you got to keep in mind, Abba isn't just saying capitalism bad. He baked in the hypothetical no laws restricting any of this behavior. If that was capable of providing a sufficient service to mankind, then there would be no labor laws. But we have a fuck ton of labor laws, and many would argue, same as me, that we need more labor laws. So it is clear that unfettered capitalism is not the way. That's why being a SOCDEM is so fucking based.
Talking about this so much because I've done a lot of what I feel is exploitative startup terms, but you know what? It was the best I could get. I couldn't get better. Do I feel like I should be giving up 30% of my fucking company right now when you're just giving me a check of 50 grand? What about if there's $1 billion? You really think you deserve 30% of my fucking company for 50K? That's logic, bullshit. Yes. But you know what? I couldn't do better. No one else was taking a fucking chance on me or my fucking company. It was you, or I literally didn't do it. I didn't make my fucking company without you. So you know what? Okay. You took the fucking chance. You gave me 30 grand. Now you get fucking 30% of my company, and it's the most bullshit deal ever. I literally created Facebook. I literally have billions of value, and it's bullshit. You think?
Okay. Yeah. So what if I agree with everything you said? What I instead do is, how you spoke about internship. You take a chance, you see if it works out, and then the investment works out, great, and then from there you get a full-time job where you're not making lots of money. That makes sense to you as a system?
I think it's an investment. I view the music industry as an investment.
Okay, so what if I sign you to a 20-year deal where you cannot use your name and likeness during that 20-year period? I squeeze out all the good working years out of you, and then when I spit you back out, you've received nothing. Do you think that's a fair system in place?
I don't think that's legal. I think there's a maximum legal set. I think it's 7 years.
No, contracts can definitely extend that within the music industry when it comes to property or image rights. They can't go longer than that.
I can't argue this until I know what the actual law is.
Okay, we can look into it.
It doesn't matter. I feel like Dan is being a bit obtuse here. It doesn't really matter. Let's assume that it can go to 20 years. Would that be fair?
If I'm wrong, then I'll hold the L, okay? But if there's a contract in place that takes your best years away, would you agree that that would be exploited? So for example,
I know what you're saying. So there is unlimited contracts for the work that you create. If I come to work for you and I make a song, you will own that forever, or you can own it for.
Labor laws aren't correcting an inherent market failure, though. Antitrust laws would be a good example, since imperfect competition is a form of a market failure. Most labor laws are Wait, can you give me? Maybe I could be wrong. Can you give me 2 labor laws that are not compensating for an inherent market failure? Can you give me 2 that aren't?
20 years until it comes back to me. But what you can't own is me. Okay, that's not possible to do.
Because from my purview, right, a labor law is a regulation on a company that maybe we're misusing or maybe we're miscommunicating what labor law is. A labor law is a regulation on a company and their conduct for how they treat or interact with their labor force in order to typically provide them with a better working environment, either that be worker safety regulations or worker pay.
You can always walk away from a contract, and any work that you've done there, for sure, will continue to be owned by them. Now, there are things like name and likeness things, but I believe that there's legislation on that as well. I don't know how it was 40 years ago, because that's a very niche type of thing.
You can't just walk away. You can't just walk away. You can't just go and sign with another label. You can't just walk out and start producing music elsewhere. You can't use your name and likeness, because once they've invested in you, they own that. You'd have to literally change your name. You have to change your title. It's not just possible to walk away from a contract. I don't know what it is that you're talking about right now.
So there's certain things that you can't contract. I can't contract you to be a slave. It doesn't matter if you sign it or not. It doesn't matter if it's exploitative or not. There's just certain things that are illegal. So I don't know the specifics of that to do that. I will say, again, people have made a decision that they want to be famous. People have made a decision.
But you're going back to the same argument. I think it's important. It's important to get in some of these smaller specifics, because if we don't, then you can't understand how it's exploited. You're trying to argue me on a macro scale in terms of contract investment, which is fine. We're talking about the music industry in the whole. When people leave a record label, they can't just go and sign to a different one, because yes, absolutely, these people.
Dan is right. He will say it later. Example: does a painter still own the art piece after he sold it to you? No, no, I don't think so. No. But I don't think that's Abba's point. Abba's point is whether or not the painter selling the art piece has proper negotiating power or bargaining power in that relationship, or whether or not he's like an exploited 18-year-old who doesn't really understand the deal that he's getting himself into.
Not just sign them on. You want to know why? Because if artists understand that they have an unlimited amount of mobility, then none of these record labels make that kind of money. There's absolutely an incentive in place for them to turn away people from the two other record labels, because if they don't, then the people that they have at their spot are just going to walk to the other record label. You have to understand the way in which these monopolies work. Here's another example that you might understand. When someone gets banned off of Twitter, well, sometimes, like Andrew Tate, they got banned off of Twitch, they got banned off of this, they got banned off of that. The reason being is that these companies, even though they're separate entities, oftentimes work together, even if it's not in an official manner. That's one.
True.
Two, even though what you said is they can't contract you as slaves, and I agree, what they can do is neuter you to the point where starting over is almost impossible. The reason being is they take your name and likeness. They take away your brand. They take away everything that you've built up until now. And if you use anything of it, they'll sue you into the ground. So no record label will want to touch you. Why would I try to sign Brandy if Brandy's no longer Brandy? If she walks away from her 360 deal, I would never want to sign her, because the other record label owns all her rights. So she's untouchable. So now I have an artist who walked away from a contract that they signed that you say they can walk away from because they're not slaves, but they can't do any of the work that they've invested in themselves.
Okay, I think you have a misunderstanding on name and likeness stuff, because I've looked into this, because I thought I was correct, and then you were saying stuff that made me doubt myself. Name and likeness. Let's say that you sell me your name and likeness. Okay.
Okay. So this is a learning moment for me potentially, because it is to my knowledge that you could sell somebody can sell you sell off their name and likeness, but still find ways to make money. Like, it's not like there's no way for you to make money. You can't like get a job at Burger King, or you can't do anything or whatever to make money. There's still ways for you to make money, like selling things interpersonally and stuff like that, or like, yeah, just like genuinely like fucking hand-to-hand exchange or something. But let's hear possibly what Dan has to offer.
20 years. Okay, you'd be like, that's bullshit. You sold that to me for $5. That doesn't mean you can't go do whatever you want to do. It just means I can use your shit also. Okay, that does not stop you from working or launching a career with someone else. It just means that I can also go and launch a line of fucking ABBA shampoo. Okay, that's what it means. So it doesn't stop you from working. All that it does is it means that you've gone and said, hey, I want to be a celebrity. So you can go ahead and you can use my name and likeness to do it. I'm not saying this is a good thing, because I think it's, it's questionable for longer terms. I would say if I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in you, I think that a 5-year term or 3-year term or whatever it is, if I'm going to dump millions of dollars into you to potentially make you a celebrity, knowing that there's a 2% chance it'll succeed, I think that that's probably realistic, that I don't want you fucking off as soon as I dump this $3 million to go to one of my competitors. And I put all that money into it, and now you're going to my competitor, and what, he's going to get all the benefit of that? Fuck that. Absolutely not. No one would invest in anyone if that was the case. Why would I put $10 million into promoting you on the radio, buying billboards with your name, if the second I fucking do it, you just leave and be like, oh, thanks for all the advertising, dipshit, I'm on my own now. Like, it's
True, valid,
I understand what you're
valid.
saying. So first, initially, you said these people signed the contract. There's a reason why the system's in place, and if they don't like it, they can just walk away. Then I explained to you why they can't walk away.
Well, they can walk away.
Well, they can walk away, but they can't continue the work. You just explained it to me.
They can continue the work.
How do they continue the work? Go ahead. Tell me how you've built up a brand, right? Because you know what non-competes, you know about all these things. So tell me how they can continue the work. Go work for one of the competitors.
Okay, well, I just said that you can't work for a competitor. If I'm going to dump millions of dollars,
so what are record labels? What are record labels?
No. Listen, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you that you can't go. If I'm going to dump millions of dollars into you, you absolutely can't. But once the term is expired, even if a name and likeness is continued going, you can go do it. I might still have a residual in your name and likeness, but nothing's stopping you from releasing an album either with yourself or with someone else and getting 100% of it. That doesn't stop you. And you're a celebrity.
Is that true?
No. Now you just said with yourself. I just told you you live in an industry where that's not possible.
Then one of the other record labels at the time.
But they're competing with each other.
I understand that. We're talking about, I agree with you that if there's a term of non-compete, you shouldn't be able to go to someone during that time. I think that's correct. I don't think that's exploitative. I think that's good.
Okay, so you just relate to me in a situation in which...
Okay, so yeah, then run with the scenario that Abba's talking about, which is with a non-compete, which to Abba's fairness, I imagine almost every single one of the... I don't know... Wait, hold on. I don't know why Dan just answered that question the way that he did. Abba's obviously talking about what I assume was the industry standard at the time. What Dan is arguing should have been the industry standard at the time, which is a non-compete. So if we assume a non-compete, then deal with Abba's argument, right?
These record labels can sign people to these terrible deals, put them on non-competes, right? Where there's very little to no.
I don't think they're terrible.
No. Let me finish. Then you say, well, they have options. They can just go to the next person who's going to give them a better deal. Or they can
after the term is over. Yeah, after the term is over.
But after the term is over, they've already given them their best years. Did you not just understand that part either?
Well, you also became famous, or you didn't, and then they spent a lot of money on you.
Becoming famous is not some road to being able financially good. If someone,
I would say for a lot of people,
I would say I would what the fuck? I completely disagree. What the hell?
I think if you're famous, it's probably a lot easier to make money.
It is laughably easier to make money if you are famous. You can literally just get like a book deal for like $100,000. If you even if you can't fucking write, you can get a book deal for a crazy amount of money if you're famous. Right? My experience in the industry, how I was fucked over in you know, I don't know, country music. I believe Dan means the non-compete only lasts for X years, and this is fair. Yeah, but the X years is pretty long, and I mean, if you actually do with what Abba's saying, yeah, the best years of your life.
I mean, just look at the dude who was fucking cannibal. He's out there making money right now, shilling timeshares just because of who he is.
Do you think fame lasts forever, and that's always a monetary thing that you can always make money from?
No, I don't think fame lasts forever, but it lasts long enough for you to earn your fucking keep, bruh. What the fuck? Nobody's saying that you're going to be earning $5 million a year till the day that you die, but you're going to be earning enough money quickly to not have to realistically work for the rest of your life. As long as you're not fucking buying Gucci, you're not buying fucking, I don't know, a big house and shit. Like, as long as you live modestly after being like a fucking super famous person, or even just moderately famous person, you should be able to make your keep with that money for the rest of your life. Will you do that? No. That's why I brought up the NFL player example or whatever. You get a bunch of people, as well as artists in general, they get used to a lifestyle that is not sustainable, and then they act like that shit needs to keep, and then that's how you end up like 50 Cent's kid complaining about $6K a month. That's where you get to. You get to that point where it's like, I can't eat. I only make $80,000 a year. I can't eat. I can't afford rent. I can't do it. Yes, you can. You can afford rent twice over. You can afford to fucking eat like a king, and you still would have discretionary income left. The problem is you don't know what the fuck you're doing with your money.
I think it's a lot easier to be famous and make money than to not be famous and make money.
Okay, but that's not what I asked you. Do you think it's this thing where you can always make money from that's unlimited? So TLC, if they go anywhere, they can just start making money?
Non-competes are 2 years max legally, even in other countries, very fair. James Dean, I don't know if that's how it worked in the 90s, in the 70s, and the 80s. I have no idea if that's how it worked back then. But that sounds, honestly, shockingly low.
Print it off like nothing.
They will have an easier job making money than I would.
That's not what I asked you. Off their name and likeness. Because you can make money. I don't know how you make money, but I'm asking you, using their fame and likeness, do you think they just go anywhere and make money?
In most places, I think they will have an easier time getting hired. They will have an easier time keeping that job.
As long as they're not in a contract today, then yes. Why would they not be able to?
Off their music or off of other things?
Off of other things. Off of their fame. Off of their fame.
Off of their music that they create today, or off of other things?
Okay, so you're talking about new music. So you're talking about new music. Okay, that's fair. If I'm in love with TLC, here's an example. I'm in love with TLC. I think they make the best music. Whatever. Hypothetical. Then 10 years go by, they get out of the contract. Now they want to do their own thing, and they want to perform their own songs, but they can't. How do they go on tour, try to perform their best songs, but they can no longer do so? Who's going to go?
I'm glad you asked that. They have to work out a new deal. So that's capitalism. I'm glad you asked that because it's a perfect example. Right. Fuck, I don't own my songs that I did in the first 5 years of my career. Absolutely. I want to go on tour. I have some new shit, but a lot of fans want to see the old shit. So I go to my old label and say, listen, I want to go on tour. And they're like, well, we own your old songs. I'm like, listen, to be real, obviously I know a lot of my old fans, they want to see my old songs. Some of them want to see the new shit too. So what I suggest to you is I'll cut you in on the new revenue. I'll give you like 30%, okay? Because if you're not going to do it, then it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Obviously fans want to see the old shit. So you can either have some money or no money. And and what do you think they're going to be like? Yeah, all right, fuck it, we'll do it. Of course they would do it. That is literally how it's designed. The artist does not own the songs. That's the differential here. When I give you money, it's like I'm giving a programmer money to create something. They don't get to, in 10 years, come take the source code to my website and fucking say, hey, Dan, I want to take your shit. That's mine. You want to use that, you got to fucking pay me. It is the same thing when they've created a song under my label. I own that type of content, okay? And it just doesn't seem fair. But when you look at it in any other type of work, it's the same exact thing. If you built a house or if you drew some architect plans for my house or anything like that, I own that. You don't get to come and like, hey, I want to use this on tour. Okay, well, come to a deal with me. We can do it. I want to make. So I'd rather make something than nothing.
Okay, so record labels deny the deal and they do it all the time.
Then first off, I don't believe that. Okay, that's like that. What you're saying right now is some lefty shit, like how there's like 1 million houses that are vacant because landlords like want to just hurt poor people. Trust me, there are circumstances where stuff is vacant, no doubt. But in general, people want to make money. Making money is better than not making money. So I do not believe that is the case. That if TLC says, hey, huge demand for us to go on tour, we want to do 50% of our new shit, 50% of our old shit. How would you feel if we gave you a cut of the revenue? You're telling me like, nah, we want 100% or not. It's just stupid. You know, no competent business person would ever say that ever.
I would literally, I agree with Dan so much that I would take it a step further. It wouldn't surprise me if you could get fired for saying no to that. It wouldn't surprise me if that would be a breach of your fiduciary obligation for denying that to your fucking shareholders, because you have a fiduciary obligation to provide, you know, as reasonably as much profit as you can to your share. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was a breach of your fiduciary obligations.
So I don't believe that is the case. And if someone did do that, then there has to be some mechanism or reason that they're getting compensated by someone else to not do that, or that they slept with someone's fucking wife.
So yes. So this is the weird part. So this becomes the weird part. So like the ownership, how deep it goes oftentimes is that it gets to a point where some of these people own the masters. They don't want to offer the original artists any opportunities to remix it, even if they get cut in on the deals. They don't like the idea of them even being able to use the music on tour. Why? I think there's been a lot of speculation. Some people say it's due to a personal relationship. Some people do say it's due to other reasons. What I am trying to say is, irrespective of how they've set this thing up, because these people own all the rights, they can absolutely engage in a way that's tyrannical. Now, I personally don't like to put all the emphasis on these examples because, one, I do think they're outliers, as you said, but two, more importantly, I also think that
Rage Pub said, I agree. That's fine. If they don't want to let you go on tour, fuck you. It's their property. Tough shit.
Yeah, okay, and if you have that mindset, that's fine. But most people are going to see you as exploitative.
No, that's not. That's just I own your song. Yeah, that's not your song. That's my song.
You could think that way.
No, that is the way to think. I own that content, not you. Okay, that's the same thing if you drew plans.
I agree. I agree with Dan. I think this is true. Yeah, I agree. Now I see what the person in chat was talking about when they were talking about earlier. I agree with Dan. You submitted the rights for that music over to that individual. If you don't want to, like, again, ABBA's only play, I think, here is that he believes that it is exploitative because most people entering these deals do not understand what they're getting themselves into. But I agree with Dan. They own the music. It's not yours. Because you did the music, that doesn't make it yours. I think his programmer example is really good, right? If somebody hires me on as a sole programmer for a bit of code, right, and I write that shit out full top to bottom, at the end of it, I don't get to come back and be like, hey, I want my code back. Another company is willing to pay me a lot more. Tough shit. You were paid to do it. You were the only one who did it. You were necessary to doing it. Doesn't matter. I own it now. I paid you for that. It's rightfully mine. That's the way it works. Tough shit.
For my house or created a fucking webpage for me. I own it. You don't own it anymore. You were the fucking person that had your finger to the pen and I paid you for it and it is my property. You want to use it later? maybe I'll let you for 30%, or fuck yourself. It's mine. I don't have to let you do it. It's not exploitative. I own it.
Say that, and you can say that, and that's fine. But most people are going to see you as exploitative as a result.
No,
so that's where a lot of absolutely. If you went to anybody,
so no. I think what Dan means is when he says no way is it doesn't matter if you view it as exploitative. You're just fucking stupid.
If people don't understand.
Hold on. If you went to most people in the street and you told them that an artist invested their time, their stuff, and the record label invested back into them, and then the record label.
The programmer example is good, but it's actually better for the music artist. The programmer doesn't own the IP. The artist shares the IP. The artist can re-record the song and own that. That's true.
People just said, "Fuck you. We're not giving you a dime. You don't deserve to."
I agree with Dan, but I understand the difference in intuition. Innuation. Are you trying to say intuition? You don't put yourself into code the way you do art. It creates a different feeling of this is mine and it represents. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, like your songs. I mean, especially you got to keep in mind that this is like it's a creative venture, right? Where you often, many of these artists are putting their own life stories inside of these things. So to feel some measure of ownership for it is not only natural, it is human. I expect such behavior. I expect it because most of the times it's about some kind of story, probably embellished, about the individual's lives, which I think is obviously going to be important to them.
Make pretty much any money out of this. If you want, you can go off on the road. Most people are going to see these deals exploitative. And that's the reason why artists today would never sign these kinds of deals, because they say, why would I sign these deals? These are terrible investments. These are terrible returns on investments. They take all my work, all my labor, and I don't make any money. The industry is surviving today. It's thriving today, offering artists much more flexibility how they make income. So the idea that this stuff wouldn't be seen as exploitative, you're bugging. Literally, artists today all speak about how the fact that that's exploitative, which is why they don't sign these deals anymore. So
that doesn't matter. That this is not relevant. ABBA is not scoring any points here, logically. He's saying he's making an appeal to current artists thinking that these deals are exploitative and kind of playing into Dan's argument about competition when it comes to these corporations bending the knee towards these situations. This is not relevant to whether or not it is morally exploitative to have these previous situations. These deals can get better. That's fine. I don't think Dan would argue against the deals getting better for the artist. But at the end, well, maybe he would to a degree. I don't know. But the argument as it stands is whether or not it is morally exploitative, not whether or not people think it's exploitative, or whether or not artists think it's exploitative, or whether or not there's been push legislation-wise to get these things out of the way. It doesn't matter. What matters is it morally exploitative?
You sitting here telling me like, oh no, it's not exploitative. All right, if it's not exploitative, why don't any artist sign it today?
Why don't they sign it today? Well, I think plenty do sign those terms today.
They don't.
You're saying artists don't sign contracts anymore, is what you're telling me.
No, they don't sign the 360 deals, the ones that pretty much siphoned all the money that the artist made to the record label.
That's probably just because competition. I mean, and I think that was probably the case back then as well, that there was competition.
Where did the competition come from? It came from the flexibility in the record label.
Well, now I think there's probably less.
Okay, so that's my point to you, is that the standards that existed before funneled everybody to these systems that didn't allow for the artists to make any money. There's still the same amount of demand for music. There's still...
God damn, Destiny's like... I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but he's doing something.
All that stuff. The only difference is that today there's more flexibility. So how are you telling me that the system that existed before, that pretty much only funneled everybody to these 3 record labels or whatever it was, is somehow ethical, when today the people have the same option to engage in these, but they don't because they recognize that there's more flexibility?
Okay, so ABBA's getting caught up inside of a kind of bizarre argument. How can you say that a previous system is ethical if a previous system is no longer used in comparison to the systems that are being used today? Well, just because it's not being used today doesn't mean it was unethical. What it means is that people found a better deal, right? People have pushed these record labels in a way that enables them to get a better deal, either because they think that the previous situation was unethical for whatever reason, right? Given my very limited current information, I don't believe it was. But if, for whatever reason they believe that it was, and they press these record labels to be able to offer them a better deal, and so they're going to take that better deal. Dan doesn't have to fight on the grounds that artists are not being offered a better deal. The only grounds that he needs to fight on is the idea that the deal that they were previously offered, the one in question, the one that they've been debating over for the past 50 minutes, was fair. That was the only thing that he needs to argue, and I feel like he's done it pretty sufficiently up to now. We'll see how he takes it.
So, if it's so ethical, if it was such a good option, why doesn't anybody buy into it today like they used to?
Because they're being offered a better deal. That's the reason why, right? Because there was enough pressure to push them to offer a better deal, right? Like great example. Everybody in America are some of the most fortunate human beings on earth. But yet we still push for more. We push for better minimum wage. We push for better workplace environments. We push for better racial, gender-based, equality. We push for more, even though we are some of the most hands-down, lucky, fortunate human beings. Even the fucking poverty tier, poverty-ridden people like me are some of the luckiest humans. I am in poverty. And I am using a double monitor setup, streaming 6K KB fucking on a goddamn gaming computer. Costs $2,000. I'm streaming in a fucking house that I own in my fucking room with the fucking ring light. With fucking 2 phones in a fucking country. I'm below the poverty line, and you know what? I asked for more. I ask for more. Why not $15 minimum wage? I ask for more. Why not more food stamps? Why not more welfare? I ask for more. It is not about whether or not it is immoral that we are in the positions that we are. It's that I can put pressure on individuals to be able to ask for more than what I have right now. That's the only grounds that Dan has to fight on. Those are the only grounds that Dan has to fight on. I hope Dan understands that. I believe he's in the right on this position. But that's it. People can ask for more than what they have. They could be some of the most fortunate people on earth and still ask and get more. And they do every fucking day. So he doesn't even have to fight on these grounds. These are false grounds to fight on.
Sorry, say that again?
If it's so ethical and these are correct ways of going about business, why don't artists today engage in the same type of contracts?
I think ethical is the wrong word. I think that right now, because of the internet and because of everything else, there's a lot more competition. So now there's less margin that you can make. And as a result of having less margin, you have to be more frisky with how much you offer out. And there's more access to information now where people say, hey, Sony actually is offering this to new people right here, or whatever.
True, this is accurate.
That is certainly better that is here. More information is always better. But I would say it all comes down to capital, meaning that you have, hopefully in a healthy environment, companies competing with each other to get promising talent. And the more promising you are, the more that you are going to be able to command as your premium when you come on. And the less promising and the more of a gamble that you are, the less you're going to take. So that would be my outlook on it, is that they're all startup investments, essentially.
They're all Can you explain that a little bit better, the startup investments?
So when you invest in a singer, and I guess that's mostly what we're talking about here. I know there's like people that, don't do that now, but essentially when you invest in someone, a startup, most of them go nowhere. Most of them fizzle out and become nothing with startups. And it's the same in the music business, is that there's only space for so many superstars, if you will, or so many people that aren't even superstars, but just become, successful and financial. And that for every success you have, you might have 99 failures. Okay. If you have 99 failures with this stuff, you have to look at that like, okay, so if I'm investing $1 million out of every person that comes through my door. So I've had 100 people come through. The first 99 have all been losers. I'm down $99 million. And now I'm going to invest $1 million into this next guy. Okay. And he's going to make it. And wow, he made it. And he makes $100 million. I'm not, or even $200 million, whatever it is. I'm relying on that 1% to pay for the remaining 99% of my failures, or else I have a failure of a business. I need that to pay to cover all of my losses. And that's not fair. You only gave me $1 million and I'm producing $100 million. What entitles you to get half of my pay? Well, that's how the fucking thing works. 99% of my shit loses. I need this. So that would be the logic behind why it would happen along those lines.
Okay, so that's why the exploitative deals happen.
I don't think they're exploitative.
Okay, but the ones I qualify as exploitative, you don't. But that's why those deals happen, correct?
Correct.
Why they happen? What do you mean by why they happen?
You tried to explain to me the ways in which these deals come about. The reason
that
why
thumbnail, I have no idea
what they are, whether you see it exploitative or not. I'm fine with that. Is because of what you just explained, correct?
Yeah, because there's a certain amount of money that the business wants to make. They don't want to just make $500. That's like not enough margin. That's way too risky. They want to make a lot. Of course. Typically, if you're investing $100 million and it takes 100 million before you have your big hit, you probably don't want to just make 20%. That's a huge fucking gamble. You probably want to double or triple up. So yeah, I would say that, you know, the only thing you can argue about is margins here, is how much does the artist should they get. But
those margins are probably where all the exploitation comes into play, right? I don't think these artists are saying they should make 75 or 50%. I think even 20% in a lot of cases would be good for people.
Can I give you a hypothetical?
Absolutely, go for it.
Let's say that I did some shitty fucking stick drawing on MS Paint, and you commissioned me to do it for $5, and it was like a picture of you, and I just did it in MS Paint, and I sent it to you, and then you spent $100 million, and all of a sudden this was like the biggest piece of art, became like the fucking Mona Lisa, but only because you spent so much money promoting it. Do you think that I was exploited?
If you produced the art and you made no money off of it?
Yeah, I made the $5 you gave me.
And I didn't cut you a check of that?
Not yours.
Well, you gave me the $5. You said, Dan, I want to give you $5 for a stick figure, and then I'm gonna go fucking ball. I'm actually stupid. I'm gonna spend $100 million promoting your stick figure, and I'm like, dude, why would you do that? And you're like, well, I'm crazy. I don't know. I'm wild and wacky.
Yeah, I wouldn't see that as exploitative. No.
Why?
Because there's not an ongoing negotiation or process between us. There's not ongoing labor between us. There's not ongoing working relationship between us. And I'm not taking the best years of your working life. I'm not signing you on a deal where you can't do work elsewhere. I'm not signing you on a deal where I own all likeness of the works that you do in the future or whatever. Like, I don't own all of that. So I don't think it's exploitative, because the situation you described of is I gave you a product and then you resold that product and made more money off it. The situation I'm describing, and the one I'm calling exploitative, is one in which you have no freedom, or very little to no freedom, to do similar work in the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah, someone uses an example. I actually knew this guy, by the way. At least I think he did. I knew the guy who made the symbol. Some people are talking about the Nike symbol, who got paid $40 for it. But I knew the person who made the MTV logo, the original one of the thing. And he also just did. So yeah, in that case, do you feel that stuff is okay? Like,
I have no idea about the Nike situation. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Someone paid them $100 to draw the Nike symbol, and then they got full rights to go fucking batshit, and the guy has no rights to it.
I mean, if that's pretty much the stick figure example you gave me.
Yeah.
Sure.
So basically, visual artists are fucked because they only do it once and then they lose rights. But a music artist who can create new things, so you, like, the term of length is where you have your.
It's not just the term of length; it's how restrictive the contract is.
I come back to this, man. If you're like, Dan, listen, I'm gonna pay you minimum wage to shitpost in Destiny's chat. And
I think, to be fair to Abba here, what Abba's point is what he said earlier about the likeness. The likeness is pretty important, right? That because that isn't present inside of Dan's stick figure example. To make Dan's stick figure example, a reality, you would say that you didn't have the tools to be able to draw the things you wanted to draw, right? And that somebody provided you the tools to be able to draw, paid you $5, and in exchange, you wouldn't be able to draw underneath your brand, right? Or go to other competitors to draw, but you were given the resources to be able to draw to your heart's content under that company's, I guess, jurisdiction.
You weren't getting paid now, but I'm going to pay you minimum wage to do it for the next 3 years, and I'm going to promote this to everyone on Earth. I'm like, dude, really? I mean, I would take that deal. Like, I do that for free right now, and musicians do that for free. I think this all comes down to the idea that musicians and celebrities see how much money that their work generates, their song creates, and they don't understand that they would be nowhere without the so-called Jewish guy at the top because of the mixing that went into it, the editing that went into it.
I agree with Dan on that one. I think this is true. I think this is a classic case of, look at how much money I'm making now for this group. I'm just going to turn on the blinders because, like, I don't know, record label decided to take a risk on me, and now I'm making them a fuck ton of money. I'm not even going to think about all the implication of all of the different things, tools that they use to be able to help me or other people. I'm not even going to think of that at all. What I'm going to think about is the fact that I'm making them $100 million and I'm getting like $100K.
I don't disagree that it's a collaborative experience. I'm not saying that the Jewish person, whoever owns the record label, whoever the fuck religion, I don't care, didn't contribute a tremendous amount and shouldn't make majority of the profits. That's not my point. My point is that the deals are exploitative in that, one, they don't offer a cut that's sizable or even representative of any form of the work that's put in, and two, they're so restrictive that if you want to go elsewhere, if you want to commute to work, it's very much impossible. And so that's why I don't like it. So for example, if I'm an athlete who plays in the NFL, right, my shelf life is 10 years at best. If someone signs me to deals and they must, like,
fucking 10 years at best, that's like 10 years is isn't it like an average of like 3 years or something?
Mandatory deals where I come in and they're 10-year deals where I make $1 million a year and they're what are they called? Not unrestricted. They are non-guaranteed. Meaning, if I get injured, they can cut me at any point. So there's no health requirement to whatever. Those deals would be considered exploitative by today's nature. Now, you can make the argument that these are the only deals that are available. They're making millions, or what's the problem? But these guys are coming in, generating billions of dollars for the industry. They don't.
I think Dan's biggest fuck up in this conversation is conflating the best deal they can get with a good deal. I think, like a morally good deal. I think that was Dan's biggest fuck up that probably Abba's really stuck on, because he's been repeating that a lot. And I agree with Abba that that's not a valid point. Just because it's the best deal you can get doesn't mean it's not a bad deal or an exploitative deal. So
it's not like these places are hurting by the fact that they're offering these guys all these contracts.
Depending on the sport, he's talking about the NFL. In the NFL, I'm pretty sure like the average is like 3 years in the NFL, right?
Because if you look at the contracts right now, they're able to offer quarterbacks hundreds of millions of dollars, right? But they weren't doing that before, because the system they had in place was very much incentivized to minimize any loss of money. Not because the industry wouldn't survive otherwise, but because they wanted to maximize their profits at the expense of the athletes involved. You can make that same analogy for a lot of different contracts that exist today. One can say that these things are exploitative, and also say that they were the best things available at the time.
I'm just looking at, like, I think we're at a standstill, because I think that if you're willing to spend millions of dollars to make me famous, and in exchange for that, you get all the songs that I produce in the next 2 years, 3 years, I think that's fine. If I'm like, okay, first off, they have to get paid. The contract is only a contract with consideration. But let's just assume I'm making minimum wage. If I'll ask myself, like, okay, like, I could be famous,
3.3
but I'm not going to be a millionaire off of this. Like, I'll have to hope that I'm not going to be a one-hit wonder, that I will go and be the Beatles or something along those lines moving forward.
Okay.
And
you gotta do something.
Soy drinker.
No, I was gonna wait. As soon as he paused, I was gonna catch me up. I heard like half of this. Where are we at right now? Have we made progress? Are you guys coming closer to agreeing? Or
I'll let him finish and then we'll go from there.
You can go. I don't believe that it's exploitative to the level that you do. I think. I said it's just startup investing.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with the startup investing, but I think there's a point where you move past a startup investment and you get to the point where the deal on any form of upside makes it so that the person who's giving you the income you want has no means or recourse to make money. And so that's what I worry.
You know what's interesting? In startups, you have vesting, right? So in a startup, I'm in one now. If you invest in me, once you invest, you know that if I quit within the next 3 years, I lose all my equity? That everything I've worked for during that time, I lose it?
Okay.
So that's kind of, in a certain extent, you like the startup investor, this guy who just put 30 grand into me, owns me. Because if I just fucking leave 2.5 years in, I might walk away with literally nothing. Like, this guy he could potentially own all of my company if I left as well.
Okay.
That is just how business is done. You have to mitigate the record label's risk, and that's why the Wikipedia page for defunct record labels is like 5 pages long.
That's the way that your contract works with whatever you're doing with the startup, and I don't think there's anything. I don't know if there's anything wrong or right with that. I don't know the ins and outs, so I'm not going to speak. What I was speaking to was the kind of deals that we were talking about, where people offer the best years of their lives in terms of work labor, and then are expected to then make the money back after those years pass. I think those are the contracts that I'm referring to that are exploitative, that offer absolutely no flexibility, take away your first 4 to 5 albums where you generally generate most amount of the income or most amount of the buzz and the fame, and then afterwards you peter out. I think, go ahead.
Do you know about the Channel 5 kid?
Yes, is that the tall white dude who goes around doing like really cool interviews?
Yeah.
I like that guy's stuff.
So, have you heard the narrative around like his past channel and everything?
Basically, he was signed to a deal and he had to make a new channel.
Yeah, so he was signed to a previous company and they had full ownership of that channel. They completely fucked him over so that they got to maintain like everything and he owned nothing. So he left, right? I actually think that the narrative on that is completely wrong. I think that it was a great deal for him, and I think that everything went as well as it could have expected to for him. Everybody like views it as being highly exploitative, but the reality is that he wouldn't have had the opportunity to have done what he did if that company wasn't willing to back him initially in the beginning. Even if it seemed exploitative, they owned a lot of the stuff in the beginning. Like, now he has another channel. He got all of his subs plus more back.
Based.
He makes a ton of content. He's like his own independent person now. But the only reason why he was able to do it was because of that like initial deal that he signed with the company that people would have argued.
But he took everything, I think, too.
I think they did. They had full ownership of the channel, yeah. I think they did.
So them helping him grow. how I would view this situation would depend on what they offered him in terms of services, how they actually facilitated the growth of the company. It's, if they just signed him, because you know about this, right? There are some MCMs that exist on YouTube right now that literally just sign you onto a 3-4 year contract, offer you a lot of promises about what, and they don't do shit, and they take a cut, and you have to take them to court, and odds of you winning are not that great.
Sure, but I mean, like back in the day for music, even booking studio time was hella expensive, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I feel like his point about MCMs are fine, but that's not what we're talking about. To you know, take back to what Abba was saying, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the music industry, where legitimately, if you were signed on to some of these labels, you had access to things like studio-grade equipment. You had access to a studio in general, let alone the equipment. Yeah, so I don't know.
And then like everything related to music was really expensive because like you had to buy all the fucking equipment. Like you didn't have like fucking Reason or Logic or some shit on your computer. You had to have like every single plugin was an actual board or like a synthesizer or like a piece of hardware that you needed to buy for your studio. So like I think the startup for musicians back in the day, that shit was really expensive. Like making your own music was hardcore. You couldn't do that shit on a computer.
That's true. There probably were different startup costs. I still don't think it amounts to the amount that the people were taking in regards to that, because like I said to you, with the insurers, they would overcharge on a lot of things just to be able to maximize the reasons why they're taking such a huge cut of the profits. But moving to the example of the individual in question, the guy who gave up 100% of his earnings to that company, what were they offering in return to get him to the point that he got?
What were they offering the Channel 5 kid?
Yeah.
I think
that is certainly probably a huge fuck up that they couldn't keep that Channel 5 kid afterwards.
Well, because he probably knew his value and there was no negotiation he was going to do. He didn't need anything from that past.
Oh yeah, maybe so, but still, like they should have tried throwing. The Channel 5 kid made it seem like they weren't willing to budge on anything. Like I would be sucking this kid's dick at the end to try and get him to stay with me. Be like, listen, man, we're gonna dump him.
Well, it's kind of like the it was like was it the 100 Thieves thing? What was that esports team? No, it was FaZe, where everybody was acting like that one guy got over by FaZe so much he was trying to get away. But he didn't really get over. He was up and coming talent. He was a nobody. They invested some money in him. He ended up blowing up, and like but like everybody viewed them as the bad guys, right?
So do you guys know what they offered him in terms of services to get him to the point that he wanted to?
Well, initially for the one kid, I think it was like offering like film equipment and crews and stuff, like basically all the equipment he needed to actually like film, and then a channel put it on.
Okay, so they offered him all the filming equipment. What else?
I think that was probably it in the channel. I don't know.
Well, no, the RV.
Didn't they? Oh, did they offer the RV? Oh, maybe they did. Oh, and the van. Yeah, they. Oh, yeah. So
okay,
basically,
they
paid salaries.
They paid salaries to everybody, including the YouTuber. Okay. So that deal I can understand. Did they lock him in for how many years?
I think it was as long as All Gas No Brakes was out, so you can go see when it started.
It's probably 1 or 2 years, or my guess.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 or 2 years. Do we know the difference between 1 or 2 years and 10 years?
Okay, but that's not fair, because you were complaining earlier that it's exploitative that an artist doesn't own their song. You can't now say that it's about the length. Like you were saying, TLC doesn't have the right.
Dan did get him there.
It's not one thing. I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's because they don't own their match that's inherently exploitative. But you understand the difference between locking somebody to the. So let's say it's a YouTuber like him, and he's locked into a 10-year deal, which is pretty much going to be most of his shelf life on YouTube. Do you think?
Well, I think we all agree on this, that 10 years is a long time. That can suck. That like, but I think the issue we're having is that like, let's say that deal didn't exist. These people have done nothing. Like, where do they go otherwise? I think that's the.
I mean, we can't say for certain. That's not.
Well, no. We can say almost certainly, because otherwise, why would they take such a highly exploitative deal, right?
Well, because they don't know any better.
No, this is not them like getting food stamps. This is them trying to become a millionaire and become famous. This is not exploitative.
Hold on. Do we not know of many people who don't go through their options when it comes to signing on to things?
No, I do, but like
that's most YouTubers.
Yeah, I'm an asshole, but like I make fun of those people. Like if you don't read your contract and it's your life, like you're a fucking moron. But like no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, they should have like lawyers or representatives, but at some point, like Jesus Christ, like all these people sign into shit. Like how many people? No offense, and Machinima was a company, but how many people signed onto that Machinima shit and didn't even read their contracts? And then like 3 years later, like wait a second, into perpetuity. What does that mean? It's like, well, I mean, bro, you signed it. Like the fuck.
Right. And this is the issue with financial illiteracy. Most people have no concept of money or how it works. Again, this is where the
Right. So now we're back at square one, exactly what I said, which is that it's only exploitative to the effect that they didn't properly compensate for either one, the illiteracy, the financial illiteracy of people, or maybe they did compensate, but in their favor, right? Which is almost certainly the case, where they would intentionally try and misrepresent the contract to get people to sign it, right? Which is almost certainly the case. That is exploitative. The deal itself, though, is not. But the problem is Abba wants to argue that the deal itself was exploitative. It isn't. I don't think it is. I do not believe the deal, even if you get absolutely zero, which I don't believe any of these contracts work that way. If you get absolutely $0 from your likeness, I do not believe that's exploitative. I think being famous and getting a house, because that's often like how many times? Okay, let's put it this way: if all of these rappers and shit like this or artists were getting absolutely no money while they were blowing up and famous, why weren't every one of them homeless? Why wasn't every single last one of them homeless? It's because they were put up inside of a house, probably by the label or something, probably to fit their image or something, or maybe it was genuinely their house, right, that they bought with their money, right? They were put up in a car. They were put up with, they were probably bought jewelry. They were probably bought to fit the aesthetic. They were probably told to talk a certain way, to walk a certain way, to act a certain way, and shit like this by the record label. The reason why is because not only did they get famous and did they receive technically zero money, but they also, all of their needs were met. All right. No, you know, none of these people were going hungry while they were at the #1 spot on the billboards. That wasn't happening.
Family thing comes into play, where it's like if your parents don't teach you or if people around you don't teach you, when you're going into most of this stuff, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And when I'm speaking about hip hop specifically, you're talking about people who, a lot of them didn't go to school, they didn't have any education, they'd be lucky to have one parent around. So you're asking these people to make sensible contractual decisions and not be f***ed over by a contract by somebody who's swelling the sweet nothings. Because a lawyer or a representative can tell you anything. They can come up to you and they can be like, hey, this is a fantastic contract. And you're not going to know because you're barely literate. You can barely read through the contract to understand it. So I could agree with you that they deserve accountability for the fact that they signed a bad contract. That doesn't change the fact that, one, the contract's exploitative, and two, that the contract and the...
Hey, it's been a while since I've done it. Another call to action. If you like me streaming on YouTube, if you want to encourage me streaming on YouTube, you want to encourage new people coming in, breathe in fresh air into the chat room, new individuals coming in, then drop a like on the video, okay? I do stream on Twitch, right? I like streaming on Twitch, but I have been enjoying YouTube because I think YouTube is a generally better platform for streaming because it has organic growth. And the only way that that organic growth exists is with people engaging with the content, either that be chatting inside of the chat room, you know, liking the video or what have you. That's the only way that organic growth can exist on the platform, okay? That's the only way. And I would appreciate it if you would extend a like on over to the video. I appreciate it. 20 people liked the video since I made that call out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you to the 22 people now who liked the video for that. I appreciate it. It really helps me out a lot.
Circumstances don't, it's not like a place where someone can come into it and sign with like the right mindset. There's a difference between you f***ing up a phone contract for 3 years and then you f***ing up your entire artistic career for the next 10 years because you don't know what you're doing. Do you understand the difference between those two things?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand the difference. It's just a matter of like, what is the capital available and like, what is the realistic function of like the capital in this industry. So like, so this is Dan's argument essentially, and I'm partial to it, but I understand your argument as well. Dan's argument is that like, let's say that it was the case that you've got a whole bunch of new kids on the scene, okay? And I can f them for like 90% more than what I should be able to, okay? I'm signing these kids to exploitative deals, ruining their lives, banking all the extra money. It's awesome. So there's two things in capital markets that you would expect to see happen, I think broadly speaking, if this was the case. One, everybody would be investing in the music industry because holy shit, the margins must be huge if you're f***ing over like new artists that much. And two, if the margins are that huge, people are gonna start record labels because what the f***, if people are f***ing over people this hard, then you can go over a little bit less hard and you can make a ton of money in the process. Because if you guys are really ripping people off that much, I'll sign these people and I'll make all the money instead. And I'll just like rip them off a little bit less. That's kind of what Dan is saying, is that you'd expect new capital to flow into the industry if it really was that exploitative. But you're saying, and there is some validity on your side that like, the barrier to entry is really high. Not anybody can just spin a fucking record label and be like, oh, now I have a record label and I'm gonna have everybody over, blah, blah, blah. It's just hard to know where the reality is between those two things.
Yeah. It's not just hard. Like back in the day, you remember how everything had to go through radios? Mm-hmm. Okay, radio didn't just take a song because people requested it. But radios were literally fed playlists by record labels to tell them what songs to put on the radio. That's how it worked. So if you want to start up a new label and all that stuff, well, you can't just send it to the radio station to get it on the airwaves and to play nationally. This idea that you could just kind of figure it out yourself and new capital, like, it was not possible for a long time. That's why when SoundCloud came around, it was such a big deal. That's why we had the whole era of SoundCloud rappers. Why do you think that was a thing?
Why do I think SoundCloud rappers were a thing?
Why do you think it became a phenomenon, the whole term SoundCloud rapper?
Well, because you could publish it on SoundCloud.
I don't know what a single SoundCloud rapper is, I'll tell you that though.
Wait, hold on, whoa, XXXTentacion made it on SoundCloud, right? Wasn't he the guy? Yeah.
Right, and he blew up, but the thing is, he had to pierce through he didn't have to go through a record label.
Yeah, because radio play became less important and SoundCloud and online distribution became like more of the norm.
NBA Youngboy is the greatest rapper of all time.
Back in the day, there was no opportunity for these people to have alternatives. So this idea of the idea of a fair market that would come into play where someone would come in and offer them less money, I don't think people understand the barrier to entry and how steep it was. It wasn't some minor thing where you're like, it was almost impossible for people to come in and then just bring in a slew of artists.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but like there's probably like a reason why it ran that way. Like people, like there needed to be some guarantee of like return of profits because the investment was so high from some of these companies.
And so risky, probably. Look at all them that went out of business as well.
Yeah, you're talking about the smaller labels that were signed
Really,
to.
who do you think is better than NBA YoungBoy? I think Chef G is better than NBA YoungBoy.
Larger ones. So like it's
Are
complicated.
you trying to say that like record labels didn't like lose money and go out of business, making big bets that didn't pay off?
No, I'm talking about the fact that, okay, so the way a lot of these record labels work is that there's the larger record label and then there's a smaller below it. The smaller below it, which is like managed a lot of the artists, but they pretty much were beholden to the larger.
They're like theater labels, basically, right?
Exactly. So those don't really count as far as like the big labels that existed back into the day exist today, vast majority of them. So the ones that you're talking about that are going out of business are generally the smaller ones that don't actually have the ability to decide people's fate nearly as much. Am I making sense?
So why did they go out of business?
They went out of business because the artists that they managed were no longer working. So the larger company basically decided, like, we're not going to funnel money to you. You're not making money, so we're not going to pay you guys out.
Well, they probably went out of business because they didn't make enough money off of what they were doing. That they didn't have enough winners to subsidize their losers, and the winners that they did have didn't cover the losers that they did have.
Right. But the reason why I was bringing up the idea that like this whole idea of so many record labels being in existence is that these record labels were beholden to the big ones, so they play by the same rules. So that's why I'm saying this whole barrier to entry still exists. You guys are talking about a market where there's actual competition. What I'm trying to say is, if these guys are all just operating underneath each other, that's not an actual open market. Do you understand?
Like, you keep coming back to this, and I keep saying, like, why did TLC get this deal and so many other artists got better deals?
You're acting like necessarily artists got better. Okay.
I feel like we're. All right, are you guys about to retread?
Yeah.
Well,
because I think you've done the same argument. Yeah, I think you guys are not going to agree.
So just to come back to the Channel 5 guy. So he signs a 2-3 year deal. He gets out of it. He starts his own stuff. He's working really well. Why were you bringing that up, this?
YoungBoy better? You are insane, bro.
Just because a lot of people wouldn't have the chance to start without that initial capital.
YoungBoy, as much as I loved his old stuff, YoungBoy fell off, and he fell off hard. His new shit is garbage.
Investment, and there's probably a lot of that initial capital investment that goes literally nowhere.
And that may have not even been that much money. Like an RV and a few salaries, like what are they really out? Like 250K? Like maybe 500K? Like it's not, and people will definitely say like that company was evil. Like I think there was actual hate threads for that company that they did that they let this kid literally live a fucking dream life doing that shit.
Yeah, I think
and now this company's like the Antichrist. It's so stupid. And like people that have your views would be there like, this is bullshit, this is exploitive, I can't, and I was like, dude, that's like the sickest fucking deal ever. Go ask any other kid, like, hey, you want to go be a gonzo journalist? You and your 3 friends will pay for the RV. You know, you're not going to make much, but you can go around the world interviewing crazy people. That's like, fucking sign me up. So yeah, that's like the same thing. And again,
yeah, but he's still going to say, yeah, you guys are like on the loop now, because he's going to say, yeah, sure, maybe they're getting money from it, but they can still be exploitative, right? The contracts can be, even if they are.
Yeah, I guess I just can something be exploitative when you're not trying to do something for subsistence, but you're trying to become a famous millionaire.
Yes. We can conceive of like, I could probably find an up and coming streamer that wants a shot on my platform, and I could rip them the fuck off. I could make
it's not hard.
Yeah, like I theoretically, I'm both of you right now on my stream when I walk away to do phone calls and you guys are entertaining, right? But I can like offer somebody like, oh, I'll give you $200 a month, and to a streamer that's up and coming has no chance. That might be like, oh my god, $200, holy shit, I'll do it, and then I make like 10 times that money or 100 times the money off of them. Like we can.
Yeah, I guess I don't think that's. Man, I guess I don't feel like that's exploitative. Like you're taking you only have so many limited spots to bring people on, and you're paying someone. I'm doing this shit for free. I didn't know you guys are getting paid. Like unironically, I don't know. Like, this is a chance that a lot of people would do. They would do that. I don't know if it's exploitative. If this is like the best deal I can get to go and do that, I think that's like okay. Let me see.
I mean, it feels shitty when there's an industry and everybody in that industry is getting paid but you. Like this happens to artists a lot too.
Okay, but let me take this. When you made the same thing with startup investing, like if you invest 25K in my company or whatever it is, and because of X, Y, and Z, you're getting 30%, and it turns into Facebook, and now you have 30% of fucking
I feel like
Facebook.
it's a different thing. Startup investing in an entity that's a company is different than like an individual that's like sacrificing their personal time, talents.
I don't know that. Typically, when you invest in a startup, you're not even investing in the startup.
You're investing in the person.
founder.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of it is based on like I'm hoping this guy is gonna go crazy and work his balls off to do it. So that's kind of how I feel. It's like very similar to startup investing. Is that when you do make it, and you're like, holy shit, the thing that I made is all of a sudden worth $1 billion, and you're trying to tell me that you get 50%? Why? Because you were the first guy there that was exploitative to me and gave me 50 grand? Like, I didn't know, that shouldn't have been the deal. You should have just got, like, maybe you can get double your money, but it just doesn't work that way. It literally, I know it doesn't work that way in startup investing because it doesn't make sense financially. It has to be the same for the music business.
Yeah,
like,
we're looping. I think you've looped this conversation for 3 hours.
All right, yeah.
I think we're allowed to say each other's points.
All right.
Yeah, so anyways, Jews and Kanye.
It's why you can't bankrupt on student loans. Yeah.
Jews and Kanye. Oh, wait, hold on.
That's where this all started.
Yeah, well, we have a friend here, young Sneako, said he wanted to say something to you.
Oh, he can come on. I can repeat whatever I said in my video to him as well.
So are we done? Is this the end of this convo?
No, you don't want to talk to your favorite Red Pill creator?
I don't know enough about the red pill.
Nah, you was talking shit before. You was like, yo, fuck this shit. I'm done with this art. Destiny, move on. Yo,
oh no, I do think we should be done with that art, but that's nothing about him. I don't even know is he literally just a red pill streamer? Is that what he does at this point?
Are you? Okay, stop.
What? I don't. I was asking a question. I have no idea.
I know it's just a meme.
You know, it feels good when I come here. I know nothing about the music industry, and at the very least, I was convincing enough to get some people on my side. That's good, because I tell you right now, I know nothing about it. Zero.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but there can be different types of industries where like things can be funky. Like I think I'm a really good example. Remember when I moved over to Owned?
Yeah.
Twitch was offering to like basically 5x their compensation to me, like in order to keep me from transferring. And my thought process at the time was that like, hold on, you're telling me that you're offering me 5x what I was getting before right now, and you didn't do that at all until another person stepped in to actually compete? Like my question is like, have I been getting taken for a ride the entire time? And the answer is yes. But I mean like,
no. The reason why they gave you 5x in that moment versus they didn't do it before is because they'd invested in 100 other Twitch streamers and they didn't give any kind of capital back.
Good one.
So once you were leaving, they just realized.
Oh my God, Abba with the killer arguments. But no, like when that happened, I was like, okay, well, that was one of the reasons I left, because they matched the offer from Own. They matched it. I'm like, hold on, Own is trying to buy me for like 5x of what you're trying to match me now for. Why are you matching me? You should be overcoming their offer. Fuck you.
Was that just a flat rate? There was no Twitch Primes back then, right? So
no, it wasn't Twitch Primes. It was going to be, I think it was a bonus to subs. It was I don't even know if they were offering me a cash advance. It was a smaller cash advance, and then it was way higher CPMs guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you guys. So when you're looking at that situation, they can all of a sudden offer you $300K more a month. The stuff that you were asking for a raise before, they couldn't do because, budget's tight or whatever the fuck it is. Now they can. I understand why they're doing it, because financially it just benefits them to keep you on the platform. But when you see stuff like that, that don't make you realize like, it's not because these industries are hemorrhaging or whatever. It's just because they want to, which they should. If they want to maximize profit, that's fine. But we do understand the fact that like this is not some necessary lifeline for them. Are we agreeing on that or no?
What necessary lifeline for the artists?
For the company itself, like they didn't have to say no to you to maximize their profits and do everything to.
Well, it gets complicated. Yeah, they probably did actually. Like I had higher value back then than what they were offering, but they're also like running in the red constantly. So it's like a balance of like who's getting fucked over at any point. Like Twitch is still running massively in the red, so like it's a complicated ordeal. Like figuring out like the true value of something is it's all like really complicated.
Okay, so then I guess in your case you weren't exploited. They were trying to protect their investment essentially.
I mean, I was kind of exploited because I think I probably worked more.
Well, they were hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, but the issue is that like, when you say is somebody exploited, and this is actually, it's funny, you guys actually hit on this. It's like a fundamental argument of like, what is value? This is what Marx wrote.
How much too? What percent?
Well,
right?
this is the whole point of like the labor theory of values, trying to relate things and figure out like, well, what is the value of a commodity? What is the value of labor, right? In capitalism, there's a question of what is the value of somebody's labor. And Dan is actually giving you the quintessential capitalist answer of, well, your labor is the value of whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Full stop. Boom. If you might be a heart surgeon, but there's a million heart surgeons in the country, you're only gonna get paid $2 an hour because anybody can do the job. It doesn't matter if it's heart surgery or not, right? There might only be one janitor in the country, and that motherfucker's making $500 million a year because he's the only guy that can wheel them up as much as our Jannies can in the DGG subreddit. But ABBA is trying to like hit at these other forms of things that go into producing like a good or service, where it's like, well, what about the time invested by the person? What about the sacrifice that they're making? What about the the fact that they're not going to own their IP for the future? They've got to give up like some actual IP rights in order to do things. And yeah, these are all like.
This is personally why I agree with Destiny here, but this is personally why I ended up agreeing with Dan, because I agree with the system of evaluating labor and the value of labor based on what somebody is willing to pay for it. I think that's just how things work. If nobody's willing to pay you or compensate you for what you provide other people, then what you do is not worth anything. It's just not worth anything. And I think that is I think that system makes sense. I think that's a good system. If nobody wants what you're selling, then what you're selling is worthless. I think that makes sense.
And even in capitalism, there's going to be more arguments besides just what somebody's willing to pay for something, because obviously there's emotional attachments, and then there's like good, like actual like merits that what things provide for in society. Like, why should we pay our teachers more? They just get paid with the free market size. Well, they're literally educating the future of the country. Maybe we should pay them more. But you guys are arguing about like it's a very, 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 very complicated thing of like
So basically, I'm the capitalist and he's a Marxist.
Well, it's not. I'm just saying there's no right or wrong answer. These are incredibly like, what is somebody's labor worth? That's a really complicated.
So he's a Bernie voter, basically.
I mean, I appreciate the slander.
He's not a Bernie voter. He's an artist, right? Like I did music. Like this is always a question of like, friends will say like, how much should we pay? Like, can you come and do this art? I guarantee you. I'm gonna guess. Actually, I can't guarantee, but I'm gonna guess. ABBA, have you had at least one friend in your life ask to come by to like a birthday party or something and do like a routine for free?
Like what? Like what kind of?
Like a comedy routine, like a stand-up, like come tell some jokes or whatever for like a party or a get-together.
Oh yeah, there's definitely people who've done a lot of that kind of labor.
Yeah, it's the same with like artists, music. Like, hey, like, can you draw this thing for me? And it's like, yeah, sure. Oh, cool, I'll do this. Blah, blah. It's gonna be like $50. I'm like, what? I'm not gonna pay you. I'm gonna get my friends. Like, bro, this is my fucking job. What do you mean you're not gonna pay me? Right? Yeah, this happens in the art world all the time. So it explains ABBA's view, and I'm super sympathetic towards it. Like coming from music, of course, and being an entertainer myself. Like, yeah, it's hard to put like an actual valuation on all the work and everything that goes into. Oh my god, at some point, Dan and ABBA, we can have a conversation on AI art. We're actually hitting the point in society where it's like, holy shit, AI is actually starting to replace like artists, because holy shit. But
are they making good music?
Not music yet, but the art is actually what the fuck. Like, I've had people email me shit where it's like, I just typed in these words and this is what came out. I'm like, dude, I would pay a lot of money for this. Like, this is actually getting to a point where and you're getting like AI art, like winning art competitions and shit now. And it's actually fucking wild.
I'm not mad at that. I think that kind of stuff is interesting in terms of
the other.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I like that.
Sneako, over here, you can talk.
I like that too.
Whenever, I don't know if you're here now, but okay, go ahead.
The other thing I thought I brought up as well that is like deserves to be talked to is there's certainly you could call it exploitative under your framework, but like internships. But like, you know, if you're interning to be a lawyer or like a doctor, I don't know if you intern to be a doctor, I don't think so. But like, you know, you're basically like
you do residency, right? To become a doctor. Isn't somebody's about to say, hey, Relevant, you one dumb nigga. Is residency not similar to internships for medical professionals?
You're definitely under your framework being exploited, right? You're doing labor that's being billed out at $500 an hour and you're getting paid $20 an hour. But is that like, you know, is that fair or not? Because at the end of this pie, or at the end of this, you know.
I would traditionally, I used to defend, I think I might still defend like unpaid internships, because it's like, people make a meme about like, oh, exposure, you get paid in exposure. But there is some exposure that I would pay for. Like, if, you know, the thing is, people that usually use that argument are like nobodies. But like if Joe Rogan said like, hey, can you come on my show? But like, I'm not going to cover like any of the flights or any of the...
That is my go-to example for when people talk about like exposure not being worth anything. I'm like, you're absolutely fucking lying. You show up to Destiny's stream to talk on his fucking stream for 2 minutes about absolutely nothing for free. You're meaning to tell me that examples like that where I could get you on fucking CNN or Fox News and all that needs to happen is you don't get paid for it, you just show up and do it, you wouldn't do it? Cap. Absolute fucking cap.
Lodging, like I'd be like, bro, I'll pay for your flights and lodging. Like, yeah, of course I'm coming on your show. I don't care. Like, I think exposure's worth it, you know? Yeah.
Or even if he said like, oh, also you have to pay a $1,000 show appearance fee. You'd be like, yep, where do I pay PayPal?
Yeah, who do I? Yeah, what do you want me to bring a check or cash or what? Yeah.
And that's like the definition of like exploitation under that case, like, right? Like I'm showing up, I'm doing this shit, and I'm paying you. It's not like I'm doing it for free. I'm fucking paying you just to be platform. Yeah.
But it's all complicated. It's complicated.
It's all levels.
Because unpaid internships, at least emotionally, to me, feel pretty shitty. Like you're bringing on some college kid, and you know that you basically abuse the fuck out of him to like work and make money and shit for you for free.
Yeah, they feel like, really bad.
Pretty
100%.
Shitty. But
yeah, I wouldn't say it's inherently shitty, but I think it's because it's an unregulated area. Oftentimes, there's opportunities for that for sure.
Well, that's why we rely on regulation specifically. Well, that's why I think for all of these things, when you're like, where's the line? The perfect answer is us as a people regulate through our legislators where that line is, right? The minimum that you can exploit someone for their work is $15 an hour. The maximum for a contract that can revolve around this is 4 years. The maximum that you can do on it.
I agree.
We legislate around that.
We need those protections in place. But I don't know. So, just earlier, I just resented the idea that because it was the best they can get at the time, it was therefore non-exploitative. I'm like, no, it's not because there's no regulations in place today that shit wasn't exploited. That's
exploitative, sure, but it's also a function of its time.
And it's also hard to look back when you see, no offense, I'm going to stereotype hardcore here. No, I can do this because I'm in streaming. They're the same, right? When you get like dipshits that don't read contracts and then they sign them, and then when they get money, they waste it on fucking all sorts of stupid shit.
Oh, yeah.
And then like 5 years later, they're like, wow, I got exploited crazy. It's like, bro, you didn't get exploited crazy. You wasted the little bit of money that you even fucking read your contract to sign for, and now you're just mad as fuck that like, and now you're out here, you know, singing. You're like, oh, I got fucked by the company song and dance. When you could have been a millionaire if you just fucking invested a little bit or saved your money. Yeah.
I think all I wish is that we could arm people with the tools to make the decision, so that way if they get fucked over, at least they're doing it so with the knowledge they need. And I just
yes, true.
Like when I think of like,
I think if ABBA stick to this argument here, there was no issues.
You go into adulthood, and this is a discussion that you and I have had. School doesn't prep you for adulthood, and if your family doesn't do it or the family doesn't have the knowledge, then you are just unprepared for adulthood. Yeah. That's just what it is. Like
the fucking thumbnail is regressing. My editor is literally putting more time into the thumbnail than anything else. What is this regression, dude? It is regressing.
I'm 32, really starting to understand the whole tax game. My mom never understood, nobody around me understood, and I made it this far. Now, does that mean I don't have any accountability? That I absolutely do. What I'm trying to say is there's a big difference between my situation.
Oh, no, I made this? Oh, okay. Wait, really? I assumed that was my thumbnail. Wait, so, hold on. Then my editor, hold up, I'm going to put this inside of my shit. My editor should make this my thumbnail. This is base. Editor, if you're in the chat, there you go.
and people who are across from me who their parents have always had accounting or they've always had this kind of knowledge. And when you're going into adulthood and you're expected to make adult decisions but with so much limited information, like even the idea of taking student loans, like before these people take student loans, they should understand what debt is. They need to know what shit means. They need to know what interest looks like. They need to know, because like if you have no concept of money, what does a $50,000 student loan debt even fucking mean?
Yeah, of course.
So
it's like
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like the answer is that like if you're negotiating contracts in certain industries or certain sizes, there should just be a requirement that you have legal representation, and then that would like hopefully put a pause on a lot of it. So if you're in the music industry, you're required to like have an agent or lawyer, somebody like sign off on what you're doing, and then that would probably cut down. That's why in esports, like all of the agencies became so important, because they're like, okay, well, you know, you should have to have representation, otherwise you're gonna get fucked over by teams and stuff.
Yeah, I just want people to be better armed. I think that's my main thing. So at least that way, if they fuck themselves, or at least they know what they were doing when they're making their dumb decisions, or they should have known. And I hate the idea of 18-year-olds signing themselves to 10-year deals or whatever the fuck it is. So yeah, I agree with Dan in regards to like regulation is good in a lot of these areas. But yeah, that's probably the extent of what I got for this.
I wonder if exploitation by itself is almost defined by the current laws of, I don't want to say like where you're at, because obviously that couldn't be the case, but you almost have to rely.
No, I don't agree with what Dan's about to say. I think this is his biggest L. I don't think exploitation has to do with the current laws that exist around you. I think that exploitation, well, I think I know what he means. He means the current circumstances around you. If the best, so when he talks about the best offer that they can get, if he puts the best practical or realistic offer they can get, then I'd probably agree. I don't think people are exploited inside of a system if they have, like, for instance, to say this, you would necessarily have to agree that like CEOs are also exploited, because in reality, you know, they can have pretty shitty, stressful, whatever. Like I don't know if you think CEOs are exploited or not. You would have to think everybody on earth is exploited, because they aren't getting what you would consider to be the most moral treatment and moral consideration possible. So they're all exploited. And I kind of agree with the idea that that's not really, I don't really consider that. Exploitation can be an absolute and relative term that I kind of preface as a bit of a mix. And the reason why is because I think it's fair to say that at a time period in the past that most, if not all, people were exploited. But like right now, there are absolutely people that are not exploited right now that would exist in the future, living the exact same life that I would believe would be exploited, because they're not offered the current luxuries that other people are offered, right? So let's talk about like a janitor, right? A janitor right now might not be exploited in 2022. It depends on how they're paid, depends on how they're treated, whatever. And if that treatment stayed stagnant, let's say while the rest of the labor force was unionized, given worker safety benefits like hazard pay, stuff like that, maternity leave, paternity leave, but they stayed in the exact same place, then I would go, okay, then they're being exploited, at least in comparison to other people. So that's why I mean it's kind of referential, but also kind of absolute, because I would say if you were a slave in the past, you know, or maybe a slave isn't a good example because it's forced, but if you were an individual that willingly engaged inside of a deal that was the best that you could get, but was still really shitty, I think it could be fair to say that you were exploited.
On that to a certain extent, like, you know, is it fair right now if I pay you to work at like Dunkin' Donuts for $15 an hour, but in like 20 years we're like, how could we do that? It should have been $40 an hour. That was exploitative. Like, it's so much a factor of the time and place of where you're at and looking at it at that period. I think the only way we can really, like, looking backwards is easy, but as far as what's exploitative today, it has to be based on a fact of laws and following the law and doing that. And if there's bad things you can do, like maybe it's legal to dump mercury in a river right now, right? And that's fucked. I'm not saying that's good, because that's not good, but to a certain extent, we have to rely on laws being made that prohibit or allow things, and then determining that that is the line of where something is exploitative or if something is allowed and acceptable. But there can be things that, you know, are always going
to loophole this by hiring third party. Honestly, though, what do you mean? He's being groomed for the Ahrelevant leadership.
It'd be distasteful. Like, you kind of give this example. If you write a song and I paid you to write that song, that's my song, right? And no matter what law we do, but our whole society of contracts and everything is based on that IP being assignable. So if you go and I pay you to write a song and I own that song, you're always going to say that's exploitative in 30 years if you can't sing that song at a concert.
No, I wouldn't say that, but I get what you're saying.
Right, but I have to treat it the same as any other piece of art or work product. Like I use the example, like you do if you're an architect and you drop things from my house, or you're a programmer and you create something for my website, like that is mine forever and you will never have a right to it. You were the pen and I was the hand, so to speak.
So someone wrote, Abba's arguing that lower class families are dumb. Yeah. Generally speaking, you'll probably find overrepresentation of dumb people among poor.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. What if they're not dumb? Are they just genetically inferior? Of course, lack of education, lack of finance. Yeah, they have to be. You can't say that they're all like the same level of intelligence. Otherwise, then what explains for their failures? What? Like, yeah, of course.
I have no problem saying that, and it's not to look down on them. That's just what it is. Like, poor people overrepresent for a lack of education. Lack of education probably is going to lead to worse decision making when it comes to finances. Financial literacy is like one of the biggest markers for people staying poor. Yeah, I don't care how much money you give somebody. You can give them millions of dollars. If these people have never been around money or don't understand money, they're probably more often than not going to become poor again. They're going to be exploited by somebody who understands finances, or they're going to be exploited by their own stupidity. Yes, poor people are generally.
This reminds me of the degenerative strategies from the video game. From the video gaming, a degenerative strategy is a way of playing a video game that exploits an oversight in gameplay mechanics or design.
When it comes to money, absolutely. And I know this because I was pretty fucking stupid about money. Okay, and I count myself from a very poor background. So yeah.
But that's like part of the reason why it's a good thing when cities invest in like legal, free legal clinics. Like the idea that like if you're poor, you can go there and get stuff looked at and things like that. But here's an interesting question for you guys to think about. Do you think we'll still have libraries as prevalent as we do in 50 years?
Hell no.
Do you know the most militant group online?
People that defend libraries or people that defend physical books?
Librarians are number one above all else. Like, you might think like, oh, this community is like, fucking ferocious if you even mention anything to do with it. Librarians are like the fucking Giga Chads at the top. Like if you say, like, I dare you to go on Twitter and say like, ban all libraries, they're like, you've never seen this.
Well, that's probably because libraries are generally like super fucking awesome. They've got a lot of like cool resources and shit.
Yeah, but you also admit they're on their way out though.
Well, yeah, because people just don't know. They're not educated on it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure libraries you can like at some you can rent out like fucking iPads and shit. And then there's just people think that libraries only have books, but there'll be like computers you can use the internet on if you got to do like job applications or research or shit like that. I think you can get subscriptions to like journals and stuff. There's like a lot of stuff. There's a ton of like your local library usually has a lot of like Wi-Fi, like amazing resources and shit.
I think there's actually like some very specific laws that libraries like almost unseemingly.
What the hell is that noise?
Legal. Like I know this is gonna sound way too capitalist for you, Abba. I wonder how it's possible that libraries are able to exist. If you think about that, right? Like if you sell. Because basically what they're doing is they're giving away a product for free, like especially like DVDs, right? Because I think you can get DVDs at libraries, right? Like for instance, you can't go to the movies. Like I can't. If you go to a bar, you can't play content on the television there for free, right? You can't just go put on like A Few Good Men. Like that's a performance that you're supposed to pay to do that. That's the reason movie theaters and things like that are in place. But they've created laws that, don't get me wrong, are definitely good, but it's very counterintuitive, I think, to the ways that we have our copyright society done. I don't know how to say it. It just seems that it would be incompatible with it. Do you understand what I'm saying at all, or am I rambling here?
Are you just saying that it's hard to imagine they would exist in our current structure? Because
if a library didn't exist today, if there was never such a thing as a library today, I can't imagine how you would ever pass laws to make it legal.
Right? So
what's that?
It's publicly funded, so they probably have special rules and shit as a result of being like a government kind of org, right?
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like how a library exists. I'm saying that you want to take my copyrighted content and freely distribute it to other people that they can get without paying?
I see.
Paid for, right?
No, the library has paid for it.
The library has paid for it.
Aren't you allowed to do that in the United States, or can you not? Can you not loan a book to somebody?
So you think I could just start a Blockbuster today? Online? Can I go do that?
I think you can. Yeah, can't you?
Can you? Hold up. They're having me second guess myself. Yeah, I can, right? If I buy a bunch of DVDs, I can just give them out to people, right?
I don't think so.
I think
I don't think that I can I can't like go download a copy.
No. You just talked. Now what you just said was copyright infringement. Download a copy is violating a copyright. But if you've got a physical
okay, fine.
Product,
Let's use a better example then. Yeah. So, can I go buy a DVD of A Few Good Men and then stream it just to you on the internet?
No, not unless you sell me like.
Why not?
You have to sell me the DVD.
You know, when you play a DVD, I believe it does make a copy in memory. As decoding it, it does it. So I don't mean to be hyper technical here, because you're making you're making a hyper technical
no way, serious
argument as well.
No. I think my thing is literally the de facto argument. Like, I can share with you, like, when you buy a piece of software on a DVD, I think you are licensed one person per that piece of software. And if you sell that actual like hard disk to somebody else, then that license transfers to that person, I think. But like, I can't just like stream it to you, let you download copies of it, because now I'm violating the right to make copies of that work. That's what a copyright is. It's the exclusive right to make a copy of a published.
So what about if I just let only one person at a time watch my DVD on the internet? So only one person at a time.
Without selling it to them?
Without selling it to them. I own a few good men.
My guess is going to be,
one person can stream it.
My guess is going to be that there's probably like codified in law somewhere. There's going to be actual like definitions of what like a performance is considered. So like if you show a DVD to your family, it's probably okay. But if you have like the whole neighborhood come over and watch, or like 20 neighbors, that's probably illegal.
Any cop that busts that is such a piece of shit, by the way. If you're a cop and you bust a party that people are having because they're all watching like 12 Angry Men on DVD, you're a loser.
Like, I'm almost positive that like if I buy
with your family, then
do you hear what I just said? There's probably like a difference in like audience size that makes a performance acceptable. But like, I'm almost 99% sure that I couldn't buy like, well, people do this, but if I buy a DVD and I do like a showing for my whole apartment complex and there's like 50 people watching, I think that's technically illegal. Like, you could, like, nobody's gonna actually get you on that, but I think it is technically illegal to do that.
But that's kind of what is the public performance.
Yeah.
There is a specific.
Who the hell is this?
That talks about limitations of friends and family. So like if you have a birthday party, let's say Nathan has a birthday party, all of his classmates come over or whatever, and they decide to watch
Esports Batman?
That's not illegal. But the one case that they did get tagged on was like a school does an open theater.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet for what you just said, I bet that depends. Because if I did a birthday party where I invited his whole class and like 150 kids show up, and then we all go to the backyard and turn on a huge projector and watch something, I bet that would count as a performance. I don't know what the delineating factor is, but like I don't think you can do that legally. I know a lot of people do it, but yeah.
Usually it depends on both the size of the crowd and like closeness of people. So if you had 150 people and they're all like family, you'll probably get away with it. But if you're just opening it up to like the broader neighborhood because you got it out on a back lawn, you got one of the inflatable things, and you're just like, hey, everybody that walks by can see it, then that's cross that line. As far as what Dan's talking about individual copy online, I'm sure that they'll sit there and say that that's copyright infringement, but it's an interesting case that hasn't.
What is
really
he doing? Is he
talked about
sneezing?
with yet? Although there are features on DVDs that allow for this already that are built into the software.
Yeah, it'd be illegal if you started selling tickets 100%.
I want to say it was like my copy of The Dark Knight actually has this feature where you can like invite people to watch it with you, and then you have like a chat room. It's almost like DPG when they do the video.
What?
And they've got it built in. And I know Disney Plus now
They
has
got it built into The Dark Knight? What? How does that work?
Invite up to a certain number of people. So the technology is certainly getting there.
You know what I super want to know? I'm so curious about this. So Dan earlier was talking about like if I, for this DGG in a box thing, when I do these website services people, if I cancel it, are they gonna lose everything? That'd be horrible. One day, it is possible that Steam will go out of business. And I'm so curious what's gonna happen on that day. Because you don't have any of those fucking games. All of them exist online. And I don't even think you actually own a license to like actually own the game.
It will almost certainly be absorbed by like
sure,
Microsoft
practically yes, but theoretically Steam could crash, go out of business, and your library is gone. That could happen, right?
Oh, there's been something like this. So I think I read something about Amazon doing this. Like Amazon, maybe it wasn't Amazon, but it was something where you could pay for TV shows, and like then they just didn't have the license for this TV show anymore. And it's like, what the fuck? I paid you to buy. I bought this show. It's like buying a TV show on iTunes. You expect that?
Oh yeah, fuck. Who did this happen with a big? No, am I thinking the same thing? This happened with a really big.
You probably are.
company.
Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck? It's gone. I paid you money. And it's like, oh yeah, sorry.
We lost the license for it. It's like, bro, but I paid for it. It's like, no, you just gotta pay to watch it from us, and we lost the license for it. Now you lose it. Yeah.
And that's literally what they do. So I could understand in that circumstance, like, okay, I guess we're gonna refund you because we don't have it anymore. But they don't do that. They're like, hey, listen, you never paid to do this. You paid to do it so long as we had an active license to it under the legislation of, that type of shit.
And your best protection under those circumstances is going to be consumer protection. And it could be the same thing like back in the day when you used to rent, right? You go to like Hollywood Video or whatever, Blockbuster, get a video, it turns out to be the wrong video. Your recourse then is mostly consumer law to be like taking it back, saying, hey, I rented this thing, it turned out not to work, or it was the wrong movie, and they give it back to you based on those basis as far as. And so that's going to be your best bet if Steam ever goes down, is that there's going to be some sort of.
Yeah, Amazon is doing that shit on Audible.
Your microphone
as
keeps
well?
cutting out.
Really?
By the way.
Yeah, like the stream too. Yeah, like the stream. If you want to see me continually do content on YouTube, like the stream. It helps encourage the algorithm to push it to more people, and it also helps me out to make sure that people are actually wanting me to stay on YouTube. There's no growth on Twitch at all, so it absolutely helps me because the growth that is experienced on YouTube is well, it's just there is growth on YouTube in comparison to Twitch. There's just none. There's just none on Twitch. There's none at all.
Oh, it might be my stupid voice gate because I'm not used to doing it without a push to talk. Sorry.
Wow. Do you know wait,
How does this work?
Or yeah, it's fine. So
Okay.
far. Abba, do you know who AD is?
Is that from No Jumper?
Yeah.
What about him?
Apparently he wants to jump in and chat about the copyright thing. Is this guy gonna be crazy, or is that okay?
The what thing?
I mean, I've seen him in interviews and
or the independent artist thing, the exploitation. Sorry, fuck.
Okay, yeah. AD's well connected to the music industry, so
all right, listen. If this is gonna be okay, Steve, I'm gonna need to be a more active participant.
Hold up. Just to be clear, I'm not friends with him. I don't know him, so I didn't ask him to come on. This is random. So it's not dogpiling. I didn't ask for backup or anything. But yeah, he's more knowledgeable than I am, and I've seen him in interviews. He's cool.
Yeah, hold on, let me.
Oh, wait, I guess the royal we, me and Steve's take is defendable on capitalism alone. Capital will take us the whole way. I don't need to know anything.
Well, it's not just on capitalism alone. We could come full circle in a wide way if we wanted to, and we could say that in a way, like having the record labels and all that shit is kind of like being part of the matrix. That like, yeah, it's kind of shitty that there's some games you got to play, but like it gets you access to an industry that you otherwise wouldn't have had access to, right? Which I haven't watched the video yet. It's just sitting on my thing, but I think that was one of your arguments to Sneako, right? Is it like you broke out of the matrix, bro?
Oh wait, dude, the best example of something I almost wonder would be exploitative, but I don't know enough about it. Is have you read about the Korean? Like they literally create fucking boy bands and like girl bands in Korea.
Oh god, yeah, they farm like children.
They have like the whole life created for them there. I wonder that would be an interesting topic on that shit. Yeah. But that's also, but don't like millions apply? Maybe not millions, but like thousands of people apply for that.
People are saying they don't do that anymore. Oh, sorry.
Rip.
No.
Another thing.
If you want to bring him on, bring him on.
Yeah, hold on. There's a 10-minute timer on my fucking server. I don't think there's anything to do to overcome that. So.
Another thing fucked up by the Marxists. Now we can't have Korean K-pop farms anymore. I guess Korean K-pop. Yeah, K-pop farms.
Oh. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
What's happening?
Nothing much. Just screaming at each other online over dumb shit.
Yeah, just arguing about.
Dude, why is it that phones have the worst mic quality out of any mic? Literal gas station $1 Walmart mics, fucking great value mics, have better quality than phones. Why is that?
Do you say that again? Your last one cut out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, we can't hear you anymore if you're still talking.
Maybe you didn't say
You're on
anything.
your phone, aren't you?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that shit cuts in and out. I think the whole topic is interesting.
I apologize. I'm on the freeway driving. I got some calls. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you. Don't crash.
That's gonna be good.
All right. I ain't crazy, man. I heard what you said. I'm a cool guy.
Oh, okay, well, they all say, listen, all the crazy people say that before they go fucking crazy.
Oh, God.
But no, yeah, go for it. What's up? Real quick, because I have some people in my audience that don't know your extensive history. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself and who you are and what you do? Yeah.
Yeah, man, my name's AD. I started off, as a popular artist from Los Angeles. Joined No Jumper randomly. I became like one of the faces of No Jumper. Just do a lot of dope stuff, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then we were talking earlier about whether or not, like, I guess being signed to a record label where they're kind of like asking for a lot and it feels like you get fucked over. Are these like actually exploitative, or is it the only way an artist has into the industry, or what? And I think you wanted to give some of your insight into that.
Yeah, so timeline wise, so you got to think about it. Like back in the days, there were like no independent ways for you to come out. So it's like you had to go the signing route, and that's why like a lot of the legacy artists, they got like the worst deals ever because that was the only way that they can really get some exposure. And nowadays, it's 50-50 because I know a lot of guys who turned down like bad deals and they ended up not really getting really nowhere. And that you can't really beat that machine in certain situations. And I just feel like you should everybody should try, if they want to do music, try to build your own legs and have to have more leverage when you go to the labels so they can give you a better deal. But it's real messed up because like even now, like a lot of these labels, they own certain playlisting. You know what I mean? They own certain avenues. You're not getting to award shows on the independent route and doing certain stuff. So sometimes these 360s, and with me being an artist myself, I remember like being able to get, they're like, oh, you can't get on Rap Caviar because it's owned by, you know what I'm saying, like different parts of the label, and only certain artists can get on that
Does anybody
playlist,
care
and that's
about
like the biggest. So it's like, okay, you have to settle for some that is under, and in return, you're not going to get as much exposure as you would if you had that, you know, that bad deal or that, you know, that bad contract.
Yeah, it's kind of like people talk about like, you know, well, you can go on SoundCloud and stuff today to make it, but like, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the dream of like every big SoundCloud rapper was eventually to get signed to a major label. Like that's what a lot of them wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know the thing is that okay, certain people, they get into this game and they get the mentality they're afraid to drop and stuff like that. And you got somebody like NBA YoungBoy who's dropping albums like every two, you know what I'm saying, every month, every 2 months and stuff, and he's easily out of his contract now. I think he just did like another one-off with Atlantic, but he's free to go. And most artists now, they sign for 5 albums or more. And you know, a lot of the times they put singles out, the singles don't deliver well, so the labels, you know, they just spend more money, and then that debt continues to increase. So it's like you're a slave on a label forever, and then you get a reputation that, you know, you're not profitable, and they can sit you on the shelf for years basically, and you know, it's a tax write-off to them. And then by the time that you even get out of your situation, you don't even have a career, and at that point, that's when people saying you fell off, and you know, people don't fuck with you no more. It's a crazy trade-off.
Yeah, that's always the worst. It happens in streaming sometimes too, where you'll get signed to like some shit agency, but they don't actually do anything for you, but you've got like minimum contract links, and you're sitting there like not doing shit, but you can't leave your agency, and they're not doing anything with you, and it's like, fuck yeah.
That's them 360 deals. They got it all the way around. You know what I mean?
Well, damn. Anything else? Any other thoughts or comments by anybody in the crowd?
Dan, get in there. Defend capitalism.
Nope. Okay. Well, anything else? Or? I think that ultimately, kind of, me and Dan's position were that like some of these things like kind of sucked. That like definitely people were kind of like taken advantage of. But like back in the day, the industry was like so rife with uncertainty and everything that like you kind of had to like screw people over and hope that you run into those like golden winners, because like there would be so many losers that you'd end up signing that wouldn't make any money. So like you basically, like, the winners end up subsidizing like the smaller contracts for all the losers. So you kind of have to like take advantage of the winners as a company in order to stay afloat, basically.
That is a good way. You know what's crazy too is that, like, you know, okay, just hip hop in general. Most of the time in hip hop, you know, they're kids from the inner city. They come from poverty, and you know, like, if I remember when I was coming up, if somebody would have offered me $5,000, $10,000 and given my pocket, I would have signed my life away. You know what I mean? Because at the time, that's like a lot of money. And in the grand scheme of things, it's like, oh no, you're giving somebody peanuts. So it's like, yeah, you are taking advantage of them. But you know, certain people, they have conditions in their life that they can't afford to turn down a certain amount of money. And in today's times, it's like, you know, it's so much harder to even stand out because there's albums that drop crazy, and it's like, you know, I think right now the music industry, they said it hasn't been this bad since like 2014, where like when Kendrick dropped, everybody said, oh, he flopped, and then he sold more in hip hop than anybody this year. And the only other people was Kendrick, it was Drake and Lil Baby now, and I think Future. But at the time when Kendrick dropped, they were like, oh, 250,000 first week, that's a failure. But now that's the new standard. And I don't even think we're going to see a time in a while where there's people selling 300, 400,000, 500,000 in a week anymore. I remember Lil Wayne, when he dropped the Carter 3, he sold 1 million in a week. So it's like, it seems like the album sales now, or the people's attention span for music in general, it just keeps declining, even though hip hop is still on top. The main genre of music.
So I'm just gonna be honest. Does anybody still pay for music? Who in my chat has paid for music? I literally do not remember the last time I paid for music. Wow, Grape, yeah. Do you pay for who pays for music and why? I did. I paid for music by watching ads. Well, yeah, watching ads. I play Apple Music, does that count? I guess. I used to pay for albums. I pay for music, iTunes, Apple Music. Just use Spotify Premium. I literally just use like SoundCloud and YouTube. Yeah, like, I mean, Spotify Premium. I don't think that counts. I think he's talking about album sales. You don't buy an album with Spotify Premium, right?
That's kind of an interesting. I think that's I know you're talking about music, but that kind of like broadly applies to kind of like all the entertainment markets too, right? Where it's like, if you want to make a new cool movie, you have to be like Christopher Nolan or a Quentin Tarantino to do it. Otherwise, like the only thing the big studios want to pump out are superhero movies because it's safe, you make a lot of money, and that's it. So like the idea of like people wanting to get out and explore and do anything is like really restrained because people are only looking to sell, you know, like hundreds of thousands or millions, I guess, of records and stuff. And people's appetites for different types of music is changing a lot too. Do people even buy? Like, where would you even physical CD sales have to be like non-existent at this point. When you're buying an album, you must be buying it on like iTunes or Spotify, right?
Yeah, this was my question.
They said, I think academics said that streaming accounted for like 80s or 90% of all music sales.
Okay, yeah.
In general, yeah. So it's like, buying a physical CD. I don't know when the last time I even seen a physical CD, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so people are probably just streaming everything. Is there any money to be made like streaming, or like people on Spotify?
Peanuts. Yeah, the stream. That's one thing the record labels are fighting the Spotify and people like that on, is basically they're trying to say these rates are not okay, and so that's why they're actually even trying to start their own, but it's hard to compete.
Yeah.
And so the record labels are definitely losing, hemorrhaging a lot of money at the moment in regards to how like these streaming services work.
And I know that they've been trying to lobby Congress, because I believe Congress also sets some of the royalty limit when it comes to streaming. I don't know if that's still the case, but I know that in the past that it's been the case, and that's going to require additional lobbying on their part in order to change the way that the rates are done, all across the board, including for things like covers and stuff like that are covered under copyright law.
Yeah, just like Abba said, shout out to you, Abba, too, man. I fuck with your stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah, the streaming, and that's where the playlisting comes in account. So a lot of artists that if they're blackballed, they don't get on these top playlisting, mean that they're not going to get them album sales. So if you get on a certain Spotify playlist, it's curated by an editor, you get on these certain playlisting, and then that damn near does the work for you. You know what I'm saying? So when these artists get blackballed, like you can give somebody like Tory Lanez example. Tory Lanez, he used to get all this playlists, and the allegations come out, they drop it from all playlisting, and then he drops his albums and still does good with no listing.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit there.
Yeah, you're coming out of
a lot, not a little.
Hold on, I actually want to ask. So yeah, sorry, you want to finish that? Can you?
Oh no.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you for a little bit. Nah.
The allegations and stuff get dropped from all the business, and when he was dropping his projects, he was doing 6,000, 7,000, and now his latest album, I know he just did like 25,000. He became number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the week. When you go listen back to the stream, you're gonna sound like T-Pain. I think it might be the internet, bro. I'm talking all that, bro. The internet got you sound like you got auto-tune on.
2 miles.
I wanted to actually. I wanted to ask Dan, when you hear about these practices, when you hear about the fact that like people are shoehorned through playlists, or there's blackballing for award shows based off of who you're signed to and the limited options that folks have, does that make you reconsider the way that the market and the industry works, or do you not think that's an issue per se?
I guess the question comes down to, are you asking me that like shit is sometimes unfair and that there's nepotism and favoritism and people get better contracts because I knew you, and that's always going to be the fucking case. For sure that will always be the case, and that's like I don't think you get around that ever. There's always going to be that element of favoritism.
Is there a baby in the background? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or anything. But like in the end, are you following the terms of the contract? And are they following it? And that's the minimum. They can go above that, but they can't go below that, right? Because if they go below it, you get out of the contract. Both of you do.
Okay.
True.
Sorry, AD just pulling through every 3 seconds to be like, it's killing me.
Well, it's also one of the reasons why.
I'm
sorry, my bad, brother. When you hear the stream back, you won't know why I was laughing. This shit was funny. But sorry, keep going.
Oh no, it's all good. I hear my son over there. Yeah, he's doing that too. So I'm like, man, that's cool.
Sorry, you were trying to speak? Someone else was trying to speak.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in and say that this is one of the reasons why, when you look at states like California, they have such robust rules on contracts and stuff like that. Even though it doesn't do enough at the end of the day, learning from sports, learning from music back in the day, this is one of the ways that these.
Wait, I'm sorry, Esports Batman. I have to interrupt you. There's a big little factoid that Papa Bear just found out. This is going to blow Abba's socks out of the water downwards. No. Abba, how did this conversation start? I believe it was you slandering my people, the Hebrews.
Oh no.
I believe to tell you, I hereby put forth that your crown mention of TLC was exploited by an African American woman. I rest my case.
Hold up. I actually know this. It's not untrue.
That you don't get to say that. Well, yeah, of course. No, that was a.
So it is a fact.
So nobody said that there weren't black people exploiting other black folks. Nobody said that these systems in place are just inherently run by Jewish folks. I'm saying, and AD can speak to this, there's a large overrepresentation of Jewish folks in power in a lot of these large positions.
Oh, Steven's only, I am not equipped to have this conversation. I haven't dealt with enough people. Well, Steve has to do it.
What?
No, the Esports Batman, you aren't either. Our people
Wait,
need...
what am I, hold on, wait, what am I defending Jews right now? I didn't sign up for this?
To defend our people immediately, Steven. You're saying we're overrepresented, despite being 3%.
Well, I mean, you kind of are, aren't you?
God damn it, Steven, not
what am I
my
supposed to say?
But it's true. Hold on. We can move past the fact that they're overrepresented and then have the discussion, which is the second part of this, which is like, is that an issue? If so, why? But the truth that they're overrepresented is absolutely real. And so when people have this perception of Jews being in power, it is true. They are. Now the question is there some kind of motive or whatever? And that's what people need to get to. But we need to just stop. We need to stop
historical context for that.
Wait, is it
okay? We can discuss that. My point wasn't that there's something evil happening. My point is there's a perception of them being in power because it is true, and we can't even admit that portion. Then you seem dishonest to the people who feel like there's something suspicious going on.
Can I get to you that like different people have different things? Like, did you know that apparently, like, I don't know, I just found this out recently. Indian people like control the U.S. hotel and motel market. They're like the gods of hotels and motels.
Indian people, literally, like from India.
Does that mean that like that's just probably because like their parents like were in that industry and they were taught that, and you know, that type of stuff? It's not like what you're saying. There's like a genetic Jewish disposition to be like a money manager or something.
No. There's a reason. Hold on. Someone already explained this before, but they told me there's a reason why Jewish folks are overrepresented in the arts. I'm sure there's a reason for that. And then you can also speak to the fact that there's a certain level of nepotism involved, or like connection. I don't even call it nepotism. Like if you run a business, all the time you're going to give it to family members. It's very common to do so. We can have that discussion. Now the question is, I just reject the idea that Kanye said something crazy. He says, "Oh, Jewish people are in power and they're controlling most of the music industry." Yeah, they do. That's not a hot take.
So to get on this,
there's no African American owned, there's no black owned distribution for anybody in hip hop. So that's 100% fact.
So the reason why, for instance, is
that true?
I'm going to take money and banking, for example. The reason why there is a prominent Jewish position within that is that if you go,
doesn't Jay-Z own a label? Didn't Dr. Dre own a label?
Back far enough. Back in the day, these were considered not well-liked positions, and so due to anti-Semitic attitudes and other stuff, that's where they kind of were able to find jobs. But also to the point when you look at the way that Christianity, Islam, and Judaism treat interest rates, usury was a sin, and generally speaking, you don't, as a Christian or a Muslim, don't charge interest rates. As a Jew, you can. So this is where these sorts of communities kind of coalesced and, you know, started to make stuff for themselves and then branched outward, as you said, by giving businesses to their families. And similarly with the entertainment industry, from my understanding, was many prominent Jewish people were among the first movie makers and the first major stars out in Hollywood. So, or at least, or that it just kind of hit the ground running from there.
Okay, so I want y'all to peep it. So we agree that these folks are in power, okay? Now, some people believe it's for some world cabal nonsense, okay? Some people believe it's this reason. I just want y'all to understand the perception of the thing, because at the end of the day, to most average people, perception is reality. Then we can do the discussion about the reality of the things, but I want you guys to understand how it looks when hip-hop artists are coming out and creating these billion-dollar industries, okay? And then they're being signed to shitty contract that 80 backs up and that a lot of people speak to, and then the fact that a lot of these people who are signing these people to the contracts, generally speaking, are either, distribution labels that are run by Jewish folks or managers who happen to be Jewish. Understand the perception that black people create an art form, make little to no money or go bankrupt afterwards, and yet these Jewish entities or these organizations are making money. I understand that in essence, it's not something necessarily bad in terms of they're not doing some kind of convoluted thing, but the perception of it looks terrible to the average citizen, which is why when Kanye came off his comments and he said all that stuff about Jewish people, 90% of black folks didn't give a fuck. They looked at it and said, yeah, that shit sounds real. Okay, that's all we've been hearing forever, okay? So that's the perception of the thing. That's what I was trying to get at with you guys. Now go ahead.
I understand that.
Thanks.
No, I know you understand that. I was trying to speak more to Dan specifically.
Oh, true. Dan doesn't understand that. But I mean, Dan's one of them.
Wait.
I don't know. Just the idea, like they happen to be Jewish, but you make it seem like it's like a Jewish cabal doing it. That, like even if you're not intending to do it, it's like we don't say that type of shit because it's like fucked up to say that type of stuff. It just happens to be the case, but like they're not acting in concert with each other. So it just seems like you could just as well say like there's some other traits among like, oh, all the people that do this happen to have a bigger nose or something. I don't see.
What the fuck is it? Dan, what are you doing?
Hold up. That's actually true for many things. For example, crime. Folks will look at black folks and see the overrepresentation of black people and be like, and they have these preconceived biases. Okay, they literally take split-second decisions because they believe that black people are larger threats. Now, is that inherently true? No, we understand socioeconomic factors. All these things lead to the idea that these people are more likely to be criminals, but it doesn't change the fact that the perception exists in a lot of people's reality. So you have to have that discussion so you can be smart about it. What you shouldn't say is black people don't disproportionately commit the vast majority of the crimes. What you should be saying is, yes, they do. Now let's talk about why. That's what I'm trying to say. And the same can be attributed to Jewish people when it comes to their overrepresentation in positions of power.
I'll just say this as well. I feel like a lot of this goes down to like, hold on one second, sorry. I'll say like a lot of this shit needs to look at owners. Like too many people look very shallowly and like, oh, the CEO of Universal Music Group is Jewish, so it's Jewish control. It's like no one looks at like, oh, who owns like 30% of it or 10% or 20%. It's like, oh, this is a bunch of Chinese conglomerates. Or who runs Sony Music. Like it's not like Adam Goldberg, I guarantee you, it's like Sony Japan. Like I think it's a lot of right now like cherry picking to make it seem like the Jews control everything, and it's not the case. Like capital controls this. That's it. Yeah, I mean that's how I feel about it at least. And again, I it's not like you see the state of Israel owning Sony Music Group or anything.
I mean, I'm not even going to front with you. If somebody came out with a report tomorrow and said they did, I wouldn't even be surprised. Wow. I'm not even going to lie. But I don't want
I have to go have dinner. But Steve, I'll let you hopefully say something and pick up the mantle for my people, please.
Okay, have fun.
Yeah, I think I got
I'm still here, Dan.
Oh, wait. Are you Jewish too?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm Jewish, not really Jewish, but
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to say on this topic?
not really, not beyond what I already said, but
Okay.
no.
AD, did you want to say anything on the topic? Is he still here?
Nah, you was spitting, Abba.
I mean, listen. Next time I'm in LA, we can have this conversation on camera.
Wait, hold on. Well, now hold on. Well,
Let's
if
do it,
Dan is
bro.
gone, if Dan is gone, okay. Now the violent debate starts. So wait, do you both support, broadly speaking, Kanye West's comments?
Nah.
Not everything that not everything that he
Yeah,
said.
talking about Indian people, we'll wait till he finds out that his people control the media. And all these. What are you talking about?
Like Abba said,
Infinite slick.
black people think is true, but not all the extra shit. That's going beyond what it is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Most black folks would have not even thought twice about the interview if they didn't hear the George Floyd part. That's the part where he lost most black folks. Outside of that,
That's
black folks are like,
100%
hey,
true.
this man's spitting.
That's 100% true.
How the fuck did why is Kanye so close to Candace Owens? What the fuck happened? How did that?
Oh, that's an easy sell.
Yeah, tell me, where did that come from? When did that start?
That's an easy sell. When you spend all your life around liberals, especially in the art sphere, and they keep fucking you over, right? When the so-called Jews, as he puts it, who are giving him shitty deals or blackballing him from clothing lines or not giving him deals, right? When he sees all that stuff, well, once the conservative says, hey, these people aren't actually your friend, you know what? The liberals have been keeping you on a plantation to fuck you over. You're probably going to turn to a conservative voice who says something a little bit different and be like, I rock with you.
Yeah,
even though that shit's toxic and dumb, and I agree, I could understand why Kanye would go to her before he would ever go to another liberal voice. Because, generally liberal voices, they give you a lot of lip service. Candace actually sounds like she's doing something, so I think that's why you appealed.
I do think, I was gonna say,
Candace Owens, his husband owns Parlor, and he's been looking for a buyer for a while.
Oh, cute. Might be a little bit too, but I do think it's really cringe / cute / whatever that you can tell by the way that you talk to Trump. Kanye is always really excited when people agree with some of the wild shit that he says.
Yeah,
it's like he's
that's
in a
true.
candy shop, but he's got somebody that's actually willing to listen to him. And he just rambles on some wild shit. But damn, yeah, it's pretty. I wonder how far he'll go with everything.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. It's really, really hard to say.
Are we about to get some insane fucking pro Nazi Holocaust shit or whatever? Or what is
I think
I straight up think Nick Fuentes has a chance to be friends with Kanye. I fully believe that Nick Fuentes has a shot to hang out with Kanye.
I think he's 1 or 2 news reports away from being permabanned.
From everything?
Yeah. Social media is on the verge of permabanning him.
He's
already banned from a good.
Yeah, it sounds like that for sure.
He's so it's so much money though. He's so rich. It seems impossible, but I guess maybe yeah.
I mean, unless he's releasing music, he doesn't. Is he really going to get that much play in the general media, though?
I mean, he's literally I think he is a billionaire, isn't he?
He is a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire. Net worth is $2 billion actually right now.
Yeah, I mean that would just be insane.
Yeah, but there are plenty of billionaires and they never make the news.
No, but I'm saying how many billionaires besides Trump get banned from social media? It just seems wild that somebody with so much influence and everything could actually get
And his music fans will stay loyal to him. I don't think
maybe.
Does Fuentes have a connection to Owens though? I don't know, but all I'm saying is Kanye with his Kanye suffers from a similar syndrome as Sneako, right? Where if somebody agrees with him, he'll love him or whatever, but he just can't stand somebody disagreeing with him. So he'll just refer to them as sheep or do his whole fucking thing. And his whole aesthetic is just I have crazy opinions. That's what Kanye is. I have crazy opinions, and that is cool. It is cool to have crazy opinions. The crazier, the better. And so I feel like the natural escalation of this is fucking hanging out with Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, no, they would.
That's what I'm saying. Outside of music, and the other thing is, what is going to happen? 6 months from now, depending on the political outcome of America. So that might change things immensely too if he decides to run for president.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
if Kanye as long as he dropped that heat, people are gonna fuck with him no matter what. Even when he wore the MAGA hats, everybody they was going crazy. Oh, you let our people down. Then he came out with Donda, and you know what I'm saying? Everybody forgot everything.
Yep, absolutely, that's facts. So as far as Kanye goes and the obsession with Candace Owens, I understand entirely why people are into that stuff. I mean, I could even say that a smaller version of the whole Candace Owens thing is the anti-SJW thing that was super popular among black folks for some time. That's just an extension of that. Even I fell prey to that to some degree because I'm going to be honest with you, liberals to this day still annoy the fuck out of me, and they're the ones who I spend most of my time on.
Oh wait, whoever's talking, we can hear you. Who is that?
Yeah, Gideon's about to jump in with that liberal racism.
Sorry.
That was not Gideon? That was crazy.
Nah, it's me, Sneako.
Oh, that's definitely Gideon.
Oh, I don't know, he kind of sounds like
Yo, I just want to show myself some love for recognizing that voice in 2 seconds.
Nice
That's
job.
kind of gay, but I want to show myself some love.
Okay, cool. So we just came off.
Yeah, I know I need a voice too.
Yeah.
What's up? How you guys doing? Gideon, what are you guys up to? Okay, cool. That's cool.
I thought people didn't like Donda. I didn't care for it.
Oh.
What it do, everybody?
What's going on?
W stream in the chat right now, man. W stream in the chat right now. What are you guys talking about?
Whether or not people signing to record labels are necessarily getting exploited or not, or if it's okay because it's the only option they have, basically. And it kind of extends to all of entertainment and then Kanye West and all this crazy shit.
I don't know, man. I say with TikTok nowadays, unless you just want to be a Drake star.
All right. I was gonna watch Kanye talks to Lex Friedman, and maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I feel like that one could happen on Twitch. Maybe I do that one on Twitch. I don't know. That might be TOS. I don't think it is if I'm watching it, right? Not saying it. The Pablo song was the only good song. Oh, on Donda? I don't know. I bet Kanye and Sneako are both in the mindset that they're the only ones outside of the Matrix. Ironically, they're probably the most in the Matrix. Exactly. Is Kanye banned from Twitch? Hassan watched the interview, so I think you're fine. The problem is, Jason, it's literally rules for thee, but not for me. Like, it's, there is straight up just shit. All of my bans on Twitch, and I think I've been banned twice, all of my bans have been for shit that other people have done, but I was the one banned for it. Every one of them, right? Both of them, I guess. I was banned for watching Vosh when Vosh was originally banned. When every single person was watching Vosh. Destiny was watching Vosh. Fucking every smaller streamer is watching Vosh. Larger streamers than me were watching Vosh. Everyone was, but I was banned for watching Vosh. And then I was banned for watching Destiny when everybody fucking watched the same video. The only person who caught a similar ban on that Destiny one was, I think, Chud Logic. So yeah. He drops hard R's in it, might be TOS. Oh, he does? In the thing? Is hard R's are okay on YouTube, right? Like, I can just drop the hard R right now if I want. Tara, also, what's up? How you doing? Is it me or the whole stream video has very low volume? Like me right now? Yeah, do it. Poopity dee scoopity timbity whoop. You can say the hard R, yeah, twice. All right. Okay. Oh, look. As much as I want to say it right now, I'm not going to say it. Dude, I fucked up my hand when I hit my desk because of the Twitch shit. When I was on Twitch watching that video or whatever, I fucked up my hand by hitting the desk. Would you stream with Fuentes? Fuck no. I would not do that, no. Watch the Kanye interview? I will. I'll probably. You're talking about the Lex Friedman one? Yeah, I'll watch that probably tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it on YouTube or on Twitch. I want to start committing to a little bit more time on Twitch because it feels like I'm abandoning my Twitch channel. So we're gonna do a little bit more time on Twitch. I don't know if we're gonna do the Kanye thing on Twitch tomorrow, but we're gonna do a little bit more time on Twitch, then swap over to YouTube. Hey, Brendan Kelly, thank you for joining as a member. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Did hear that Destiny talked to low tier God? I did hear that, dude. I'm so excited. Maybe I should have watched that. Maybe we can watch that tomorrow. I'm very excited about low tier God joining the thing. I am giddy at the idea that like we might be getting some more low tier God footage. Stole me from the big D himself. There it is. Just dual stream? I can't because it's TOS on Twitch. I don't think it's ever been enforced, but it is TOS on Twitch to dual stream. Like, I don't think anybody's ever been banned for it, but it is absolutely a no-no. Fnatic versus LTG, please? That would be a fucking clash of the champions, dude. Fnatic versus LTG. Jesus. Yeah, watch it over Kanye. Well, how long is it? I thought it was, like, not super long. Is it super long? All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go. Stardust gets away with dual streaming, just FYI. I know, but I'm a little bit higher profile than Stardust. I don't know if it's... Are you on your last strike or something? Nah, I think I would just maybe get a 24-hour ban. The last time I was banned was like when Destiny first got banned. Or sorry, not first got banned. When Destiny got banned on Twitch permanently. So probably like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I don't know how long it was ago, but somewhere around there was my last ban. So probably only get a 24-hour if I tried it. But they both such shit talkers. It would be lit. The kind of thing that I like about streaming on YouTube or streaming on Twitch, then going over to YouTube, is when I stream on. Well, first off, I can use the same software, and it's very easy for me. But when I stream on Twitch, I like to be able to listen to copyrighted music because I have the thing where I can make it not saved to the track. I can't do that when I stream on YouTube. So yeah, that kind of sucks. 24-hour ban just means one YouTube stream. That's worth. It would, but the dual stream, it's just. The logistics of it are weird. So yeah. It'd be worth it to give up partner though to do a dual stream IMO. Yeah, I don't really know what I get for partner. I guess I can go to the partner lounge at TwitchCon. That was worth it. The partner lounge at TwitchCon was cool. But like honestly, I'd rather not be partner for like 9 months of the year than submit an application for partner at the end of the year. Or something like that. But yeah. All right. Anyway, Low Tier God talks about his mindset when he made the Boogie video. I'm excited about that. I want to see some of that. I heard some of it, but not all of it. So yeah. I will see you guys tomorrow. I will probably do the same thing where I start on Twitch and then go over to YouTube. I want to see if I can't find anything to stay on Twitch a little bit longer. I would like to be 2 hours on Twitch at least a day. And then go on over to YouTube, hopefully with at least 2 hours on YouTube. Today, though, I was an hour and a half or roughly on Twitch and then 3.5 hours on YouTube. So, you know, it was a pretty good run of it. All right, though. I'm going to see you guys later. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow. If you guys want to keep up with my content, sub here. If not, it is what it is. But I want to say thank you to the community because a lot of you guys have been very supportive when it comes to juicing the algo and making sure that you guys engage with the content. It's a really big deal. Like I said, I'm very hopeful for the future. Ian, Pierre, thank you for the $5 before I leave there. Thank you. I appreciate that. It really does help encourage me to continue streaming on YouTube. And yeah, like I said, it gives me hope for possible growth on YouTube organically outside of just, you know, doing whatever random shit on Twitch and just praying for somebody to raid into me. All right. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you, Ian, once again, though, for that $5.